drug and alcohol counselor, Dina Moran, is suing her former friend, 22-year-old client service assistant, Tasha Turner, for wrecking her Monte Carlo. Tasha says she caught Dina in bed with her boyfriend. She is countersuing for unpaid rent and bills.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Moran versus Turner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Thank you, Bert. Are these two of the saddest people that you've seen in a long time?
I know. I'm like...
It's just a little lawsuit. It's not life-altering. Miss Moran, this used to be your friend, and according to you, you loaned her your car. She crashed your car into a tree. You want her to pay for the damage.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Turner says pay for your own car. I took you into my home. You disrespected me, my home. You didn't pay rent, and she is counterclaiming for rent and utilities for the 3 months that you lived with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think we're going to start with your counterclaim.
Okay.
When did Miss Moran move into your home and why?
She ate up my food, ran up my bills, and haven't paid me a dime. And I have a witness here of the verbal agreement that me and her had.
Okay, when did she move out?
She moved out in February due to the fact that I caught her in the bed with my boyfriend.
Shh. February what?
February 6th. The sleazeball was in the bed with my man.
Okay. Was your boyfriend living with you at the time?
Yes, he was living with me for 5 years.
And what happened to him?
I smacked them both and threw them out my house.
Okay.
And their items.
Shh. Come on. When was she supposed to have started to pay rent?
The minute she moved in. She was claiming to help me because she had just started working at a job.
Did you start to pay rent?
No, Your Honor. She told me that, whenever you get on your feet, I'm willing to take whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you can afford.
Shh. Yeah.
And I told her, I said, not a problem. I'll pay you at the end of the month.
Okay. Did you pay her in January at the end of the month?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
How much did you give her?
I gave her...
Listen.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give her?
Your Honor, I only owed her $250, and I paid her.
You owed her $250 because that was your agreement, that you were going to pay her $250?
The agreement was I was supposed to pay her...
Look at me. Don't look over there.
I'm sorry. I was supposed to pay her at least half, and her rent is $400 and some odd dollars, and I gave her more than half because I paid her $250.
You didn't say that in your papers, and you didn't say that a moment ago, that you had an agreement to pay her half her rent. But now you acknowledge that you had an agreement to pay her half of her rent, and you say that you gave her $250 in January.
At the end of January, that is correct.
Do you have any proof of that?
No, Your Honor. She has the receipts.
Did she give you $250 in January?
No, she did not, Your Honor. She ain't gave me a dime.
Miss Moran, Miss Turner indicated that the reason you left the apartment is because she found you in a compromising position with her boyfriend. Is that accurate?
Your Honor, she really didn't catch me in the bed with him. She caught him coming on to me, and he was on top of me. There was no situation where we were in the bed and we were naked or anything like that.
Okay. So I wasn't as graphic as you just were.
I'm sorry.
I said she caught you in a compromising position with her boyfriend.
This is true, Your Honor. And I was telling him to get off me, get away from me. You're supposed to be my best friend's boyfriend, and, it's get away from me.
Okay. Now we're going to get to your claim.
Okay.
When did you loan her your car?
About the end of February.
After she threw you out?
She and I had come to an agreement that, all right, I explained to her the situation as to what she walked in and saw. She walked in and her boyfriend was standing on top of me, and he was like over my face like he wanted to kiss me, and he kept, trying to pull my clothing off and whatnot. And she walked in and seen that, and she and I had talked about it. And I truthfully think, Your Honor, she was using me because the tramp didn't have any money to get a rental car.
Listen to me, please. What I want to know, Miss Turner, is you called Miss Moran and asked to borrow her car.
Yes, I did.
Now, my question is, and it struck me in the papers because you were very irate at what you saw with the plaintiff and your boyfriend.
Yes.
Why would you call her and ask her for a favor to borrow her car if you were so angry?
She was honestly my last resort. I don't want to have anything to do with the slut.
Well, listen to me. That's
I was on the verge of going to get fired from my job because I had missed days.
I would walk before I would call and ask somebody for a favor who had done something as disrespectful as you allege in your papers.
My job was an hour away. There was no way or nobody would let me borrow their vehicle.
And tell me about the accident that you had.
I was coming home from work around, I get off at 12, so it was around 12:15. I was coming home from work. It was dark at night. I was coming down a one-way street. What happened was my cell phone was ringing. I went to lean over to answer my cell phone. And when I went to reach over, the car drifted into the left telephone pole. It was on my left-hand side.
So the accident was clearly your fault, right?
I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
It was an accident.
Well, I said the accident was clearly your fault. It wasn't his fault, was it?
No.
Wasn't my fault. I wasn't leaning over to catch the phone.
No.
Wasn't her fault. She wasn't leaning over to get the phone. Right?
You're
It's
right.
your fault.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Dina Moran says former friend Tasha Turner wrecked her Monte Carlo. Tasha says Dina slept with her boyfriend.
Madam, when something is your fault, you have to pay for it.
I don't believe I should pay her anything because she owes me money.
Just a second. How much did it cost to fix the car?
Your Honor, it costs,
You have estimates?
yes, ma'am, I have the estimates, and I also have pictures of the damage.
I want to see it.
I was also inconvenienced. I had to pay for a rental car.
You didn't have to pay for a rental car because you loaned her your car, and I assume you had two cars. Is that right?
This is true, but that other
This
car...
is true. All right, good.
Yeah, she's lying, trying to get more money.
Your Honor,
Sorry.
I also have...
I didn't ask you anything. Okay, so the damage is $29.54 to the car. There's substantial damage to the car. Pretty nasty pictures. Okay. Now, clearly, she doesn't owe you anywhere near $3,000.
Well, she owes me for the fact that I had to kick my boyfriend out, and he was helping me pay my bills also. And now I can't afford to pay my credit card bills. My license is about to get suspended because I can't pay my fine.
Your Honor, if she...
I didn't ask you anything.
I do apologize.
Ms. Turner.
Yes.
I read that interesting and novel part of your lawsuit.
Yes.
That because of the compromising position you found your boyfriend and the plaintiff in, you threw him out.
Yes, I did.
And it's her fault that you had to throw him out.
Yes, it is.
So you want her to pay what he was paying
Yes.
you in rent, not only what she was supposed to pay you, but what he was paying you, which is well over $3,000.
Yes. If you look at my credit card bills, Your Honor.
Listen to me, my dear.
Yes.
If your boyfriend is a dog, he's a dog.
Well, he wasn't a dog till she moved in.
I want to tell you something. A dog is a dog is a dog.
Okay.
If it wasn't her, it would be somebody else. She was just convenient.
She came on
Listen
for
to
him.
me. Listen to me. She was just convenient. And certainly,
Well,
you're not married to this man. There is no lawsuit for alienation of affection because you don't have a commitment to this guy, and he didn't have a commitment to you.
well, I was with him for 5
Boyfriend.
years.
Boyfriend is not husband.
Okay.
If you were with him for 5 years, how come you weren't married?
He didn't propose to me.
That should have given you a clue. That should have been a clue in year 2, not year 5. The fact that he wasn't committing to you and still looking around to see what else was out there should have been evident to you. The fact that you were with him, committed to him, but he wasn't committed enough to propose, right?
You're right.
Good. Okay. She owes you $250 because I don't believe she gave you $250. So I'm deducting the $250 from the $29.54, which leaves $2,704 if my math is correct.
You got it.
Thank you very much, judgment for the plaintiff.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
He was a dog anyway, so, you know, a dog is a dog. If he cheats, he cheats. He's always going to do it.
I caught her in bed with him. They were both together in bed giving him...
When there's something as fine as me in front of him, that it's a problem.
I think she came on to him because she's like that. She flaunts herself around town like that.
She was drunk. She told me she's coming home at 12 o'clock from work. She wasn't working at 12.
She was my best friend for 9 years, but the tramp isn't anymore.
She was out at the club, and I know she was out at the club because we party all night when we do party.
Don't trust your best friend around your man.
It's a sad thing to say. You know, they claim they're your friend, but they'll wreck your car in the end, so you better watch.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rue versus Ginsburg. Step forward, please.
Daycare worker Angela Rue is suing limo company owner Paul Ginsburg for a refund of his fee. Angela claims the limo he provided for her twin son's prom was filthy.
Mr. Ginsburg, how many limousines do you have in your fleet?
9.
Mrs. Rue, you reserved a limousine for your boy's prom, is that right?
Yes,
From Mr. Ginsburg's company. How did you find his company?
off the internet.
These are your two boys?
Yes, ma'am.
When did they graduate? This past June?
Yes,
And when was their prom?
May the 22nd.
And what did you reserve?
A 6-passenger limo, a new model Lincoln limo for my kids.
Did he tell you how much it would be?
$428 for a party package limo.
Is that what a party package is, sir? $428?
We don't have party packages as per se. A party package is how they dress up a limousine. But it's by the hour, times however many hours, plus tax and tip.
What did he tell you that they would have in the limo to dress it up?
It would be like a party scene, balloons, confetti and everything like that. Little soft drinks in there.
And what time is it supposed to arrive?
7 o'clock,
What time did it arrive?
7:15.
So what's the problem?
The problem is when the limo got there, I'm expecting a new limousine light. It had a broken tail light. The car was dirty. The tinted windows had bubbles all up in it. Inside of the limo, it had a cut, which it had a chocolate bar inside. I didn't know that until later after my son got to the prom and he sit on it and got out and had a big old chocolate stain on his tux.
Did you take photographs of it?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see them, please?
This is all this inside.
Miss Rue, did you prepay this limousine the $428?
I paid it as it arrived there. I paid it.
The inside doesn't look so bad to me.
But inside,
What do you think?
Hard to tell from here, to be honest with you.
Sure is. Son looks pretty good in the tux. Pretty girl. Whose date was that? Yours?
Yes.
Still with her?
Huh.
Huh?
Sort of.
The outside has these little bubbles in it. Is that what you're talking
pretty
about?
funky.
yes, and I also have a videotape of
Okay,
it too.
so now I'll take a look at the videotape, because so far I see a broken taillight, but nothing that strikes me as being disastrous, quite frankly.
And they said, see this rip. That was a rip. We might agree with that, but for $400, you need to get the discount or something. See here, look. Look, ain't this trash up in this here corner?
See this tail light? It's flashing and it's white, okay? I just want to put this on the camera. Tail light's broken. Left hand side blinking is blinking white, not red. I should have been a lawyer. Running me some cases.
Did you have a good time at your prom?
Yes.
Did you have a good time at your
Yes.
prom? Sure you did. Did you rent your tuxedo?
Mm-hmm.
You brought it back with the chocolate stain?
No, we went in the bathroom and cleaned up.
You paid $428 for 6 hours. Now you're suing Mr. Ginsburg for $5,000. You want to explain that to me, Mrs. Rue?
For hardship.
What kind
Disaster.
of hardship?
Because this only happened once in a lifetime for my kids, a prom. This is a remember
Your boys
moment.
had a good time at their prom.
After they cleaned up the chocolate off his pants and was disappointed because of the limo.
Ms. Rue, I don't know if you've ever seen me do cases involving limousine companies around prom time. I am very, very hard on a limousine company that overbooks, that disappoints kids, that doesn't get there in time, that sends the wrong kind of car, that doesn't send a car that's large enough to accommodate. I'm really tough on them because I think that that's, you know, without a conscience if you do that to kids and you disappoint them and don't provide a service. But quite frankly, life isn't perfect. And while this limousine probably could have been spruced up a little bit more, and while clearly I saw a tiny cut in the seat, you say there was some chocolate something in there that got on your son's pants. He said he went into the bathroom, cleaned it up, and then you went and you had a great time at your prom. Fair statement?
Yes.
The only one that didn't have a good time was you. And you have to teach your children the following. You have to teach your children that there are things that you get excited about in this life and that aggravate you in this life, and there are things that you just pass over. And you say, listen, things could have been better. You had a great time. Glad you had a great time. Next time we won't use Mr. Ginsburg's company.
Exactly.
That's all. But you're not entitled to $4,500 for your aggravation.
I understand that.
Right. And when you went and followed him and he had a broken tail light, there was a white light instead of a red light, I guarantee you your children didn't know that. The only ones that knew that were the people that were following him, videotaping for sort of sport this event. So, Mr. Ginsburg, let me explain to you, got off lucky, sir. Because while things could have been neater in your limousine, you probably have to spruce up your fleet a little bit. You're entitled to your $428. You provided a service for the 6 hours. The boys had a good time. And their mother has to get over it. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He advertised a new brand new limo, and what we get, a lemon.
If you go buy a car, and you look at the car and you don't like it, don't buy it. A limo shows up, and it's not the limo you want, call and get another limousine or don't accept it.
He said take it or leave it. So I didn't have no choice. I didn't want to disappoint my kids, so I had to take it.
It's the same when you have a restaurant and somebody finishes the last spoonful of soup and pulls up the fly and says, you know, here we go.
Law student Emily Todoran is suing her ex-boyfriend, waiter Chad Bracken, for unpaid loans and a couch. Chad says Emily has been paid in full.
That's case number 499 on the calendar, the matter of Todoran versus Bracken. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Todoran, who was your witness?
My old roommate, Julie Perry.
Does she have information with regard to this case?
We lived together when Chad and I first started dating and when I moved out to New York with him.
That doesn't answer my question. Does she have evidence with regard to this case, or is she just here for moral support?
She's
Is not an answer. Come on. You're going to law school?
Yes.
All right. That's what I gather from your complaint. If you're going to law school, you give me an answer. Does she have evidence? Does she have testimony to offer? Or is she here as a just for good company?
She just has testimony.
Just has testimony. What year of law school are you in?
First.
Okay. And he?
I'm learning.
This is Ryan Barr. That's one of my best friends from New York. He'll offer testimony. He helped move the furniture.
Okay, good. You two people used to be in love with each other. You lived together for a little while. You don't anymore. And you claim he owes you some money for a loan, and he's got some property that belonged to you, a sofa or something that he agreed to pay for, and he didn't when you broke up. Mr. Bracken says that you were involved in a give-and-take relationship. That's what people do when they live together. Sometimes you paid, sometimes he paid. He owes you nothing.
Correct.
When did you move in together and where?
We first moved into an apartment. It was in June of 2003.
Listen to me. Is that the apartment we're talking about in this case?
There were two apartments. We moved into
I'm
one.
not interested in the first apartment in 2003.
They're both 2003.
Get to the one where you were living in, where you say you had to advance money for the security and first, last, and security. When was that?
That was July 2003.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
$1,700 a month.
What were you doing at the time?
I got a job as a freelance designer.
And he?
He's a production assistant.
And you agreed to split the rent?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Good. Did you give her money for rent?
Yes, I did.
How much?
Half the rent. And what would happen a lot of times is...
I'm talking about when you first moved in.
Sorry.
When you first moved in, you have to give first, last, security. It's a whole big chunk of money.
Right.
Did you have that money to give her?
It did not happen in July the way you're stating it.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
So you did not give her that money. How much did you give the landlord in July?
$5,000.
You have proof of that?
I have a receipt for my deposit and for $1,700, and I have the receipt for the broker's fee that I paid of $1,700.
Well, let me see what you have the receipt from. You should have the receipt from everything. You should have your check, canceled checks.
Your Honor, I didn't keep a lot of the documentation because he was my boyfriend and I trusted him and I loved him and I did not think that I would ever need these kind of things. We had an oral agreement.
Listen to me, my dear.
I trusted him. I know it was stupid.
Listen to me, my dear. You're going to law school. When two people love each other and are committed to each other, they get married. Then we have courts for them. What happened with you is you decide to come into court and to sue him and say, listen, I didn't keep my receipts. I don't have proof, but we had an agreement. And our agreement when we moved in together was we were going to split the bills down in half, right? And we didn't. I paid more. And he says, well, there came a time when you moved into this apartment that you lost your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up the slack.
No, he didn't.
Well, that's what he's saying.
He's lying.
Just a second. How am I supposed to figure that out?
I moved out in December and I paid rent through the end of January to give him time to find a new place because actually we were getting evicted.
Show me.
I can't. I called the landlord and they refused to send me receipts since I was involved in a lawsuit. I'm telling the truth. I'm under oath. I would not make this up.
Did you break the lease?
We did. They just let us out. They just let us out of it.
What happened in 2004?
He made payments to me all year.
How much?
He paid me payments of $62, $100, $60, $50, $150. The last payment was this past December, 2004. I have the cashier's check right here for $150.
How much did he pay you in total?
$422.
What did you give her $422 for?
I felt that I owed her after, because every time I would try to negotiate with Miss Toteron and say, because she always stuck with that number. And
what number?
$5,800. And I said, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about, why certain expenses shouldn't be considered in that debt and other things like that. Now, so what I came to determine was $1,400. And so I was acting in good faith by paying towards that.
Okay, so let us say that after 2.5 years, you decided that $1,400 was your fair share.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you paid for some things, she paid for some things. Neither of you have records.
I have records. I can show
So
everything.
why didn't you finish paying the $1,400?
No, I did. That's
she
what
says
the
she
payment...
got $400 from you, $422.
Okay, I can show...
Show me canceled checks for more.
Certainly.
And then we're out of here.
Well, I can only show you $300 in addition to what she is saying.
Show me.
There's that, as well as I have copies of the... I would write bills down that I owed on legal
Just a second.
pads.
I see one thing for... What?
It's very hard to tell the
I
stuff.
see one thing for $150.
And the other thing does say $150. It's hard to tell.
Well, I can't read it. If I can't read it, my dear, then it doesn't exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says ex-boyfriend Chad Bracken owes for loans and a couch. Emily says moving to New York with Chad was a big mistake.
She has $422.
Mm-hmm.
Does that include a check on November 29th, 2004 for $150?
I have a copy of that right here.
Okay. You got credit for it.
Okay.
$422. So what happened to the rest?
All
What
right.
happened to the other $1,000, Mr. Bracken?
Okay. Now the rest, well, there are payments. As Ms. Toteron said, we didn't keep a lot of these things, so I've shown you everything that I do have.
All right. So let's
But
start from the...
I'm sorry. I do have all the expenses from moving her furniture, which was 6 months after she left, actually almost 7 months after she left, that I kept with me. I moved twice. Mr. Barr helped me move these things into Brooklyn. Now, when we moved from New York, I moved everything and paid all the expenses to return her furniture to her.
How much was that?
$1,227.
Did you receive furniture from him?
No, I did not.
Just what did you return to her, sir?
I returned all her stereo equipment, a television.
Nope.
Show me the address where you sent it.
I didn't send it. She came and picked it up from my house when I got back to Indianapolis.
Lies.
You said expenses to send it back to her.
No, to move it back.
Give it back to him. You owe $1,000. That's based on your statement, sir, because I'm not going through your bills from 2.5 years ago $50 here and $12 there. Let's take what you have.
Okay.
The debt that you acknowledge was $1,400 and you paid her $422. That leaves about $1,000. Now, what about this couch that she says that she sold to you and you never paid her for?
Okay, can I just back up 1 second?
Yeah.
So the moving expenses.
I'm getting so bored with this.
All right. The furniture. Basically, the furniture. When she decided to move, she said she would stay until February. In actuality, 3 days later, she was packing when I got back from work in a minivan. Now.
It must have been your personality.
I can't speak to what was in her head. I can't speak to what her.
The couch.
Okay, so she left 3 days later in a minivan. She said, "I can't, move this furniture." I said, "Well, if you're going to charge me half of it, take the furniture with you." She said, "No, I can't move it. You keep it."
Okay, and your version of the couch?
My version of the couch is we went to the store together with the intention of purchasing a couch and paying for half of it, which I have the receipt for right here.
You weren't intending to purchase a couch for half. You were intending to purchase a couch for full price.
Yes, so I purchased.
You're each going to pay half.
I purchased the couch for full price, and before I purchased it, I said, "You're going to pay me back for half of this, correct?"
Just don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Okay, and he said yes. So then when I was moving, he was going to stay in New York for an indefinite period of time. So I said, "You know what? You keep the couch. You still owe me half for it, but you just go ahead and keep it."
Listen, when two young people want to play house, they shouldn't irritate me. You have the couch?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you return her stereo equipment?
Absolutely.
No.
Did you return her television set?
I returned everything.
Go ahead.
Sometime in April or something, the new apartment he lived in New York burnt down.
Did he return any property to you?
He returned my TV, but my stereo apparently was damaged in the fire.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out. Don't play house anymore.
Parties are excused when they step out.
The defendant is probably the biggest liar I've ever met in my entire life.
When we got to the end of the relationship and she hadn't been employed for 2 months, she realized she'd be safer back at home. I think she left.
I thought Chad was sketchy all along, so I was actually warning her at the time when she wanted to move to New York with him to not do it.
She made a bad decision being in New York, and she paid for it, and she wanted me to be the easy target.
I just don't understand how a person like that can live their life and get out of bed and think they're a good person every day, and his hair is kind of disturbing, too.
I hope this ends it.
Year-old student Annette Wagers is suing her former friend, 22-year-old construction worker Justin Lawson, for assaulting her after she turned down his sexual advances. Justin denies the charge and claims Annette suffered a seizure.
Yeah, this is case number 41 on the calendar, the matter of Wagers versus Lawson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Wagers, it is your claim that Mr. Lawson, who used to be a friend of yours, assaulted you when you were out camping with him and with some of his friends. Mr. Lawson says that you absolutely were not assaulted. What happened is you got into sort of a scuffle and you fell and had a seizure. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
How do you know him?
I met him through a friend of my cousin's.
Were you dating him?
No.
But you decided to go camping with a group.
Right.
And where were you going camping?
Carlsbad State Beach.
You have to keep your voice up. I'm old.
I'm sorry. It's the Carlsbad State Beach.
How many people were going?
Well, Justin and I, we went together.
This is Justin?
That's correct.
Okay.
It was approximately 2 families, maybe 5 people each family, maybe like 12, 13 people.
Okay. Now tell me about this episode that you had.
We had a great day. We hung out at the beach with his friend Kenny and their family and his younger brother. He had started drinking over the day, which I didn't really see as a problem.
You mean Justin?
Correct. We eventually decided that the sleeping arrangements would be we would sleep in the bed of his truck with an air mattress because everything else was taken. The tents were taken, the RV was taken.
So who was going to sleep in the truck on an air mattress?
Justin and I.
Okay.
What happened was he started to get fresh on me and trying to hook up.
At the truck?
Yeah, when we were in bed after everybody else had gone to bed too. I told him I don't want to hook up with you. I expressed so. I wasn't initiating the same type of relations back. And it was an uncomfortable situation. I wasn't interested in doing it. It was cold. The air mist from the ocean was getting us wet. The air mattress was going flat. I mean, it was just a bunch of things. I wasn't interested. And
not romantic.
Yeah, it wasn't romantic. And there were a bunch of people in tents around next to the truck. So it wasn't.
So even if you had been so inspired, it wasn't an ideal situation.
Right.
Well, men don't get that.
sometimes.
They could have mist on their face. They could have soot on their face. It could be raining rodents. It doesn't make any difference. Very often they don't need that kind of inspiration. So what happened next, Miss Wages?
Well, after telling him no, he just became really annoyed with me, and he was calling me baby, he was calling me the B word, and all these other things. So I told him, I'm going to leave if this is how you're going to treat me. So I got out of the truck and went to the exit of the campsite of our lot and then went to the right. Unfortunately, that's a dead end. It's not an exit to leave the park.
What time is this?
Maybe 9:45, 9:30.
How did you plan on getting home?
My mom lives less than a mile away on Coast
great.
Highway, so I was going to walk
So you're going to walk home?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So I started to walk down there, and he followed me down. He started in on me, started talking to me, you can't leave, you can't do this. So he started grabbing my arms, and he was really adamant about making his point to me. And he grabbed my biceps right here and then was shaking me, and he was screaming at me, literally screaming in my face. We heard a noise from about 200 feet off, like adjacent behind us, and we looked over and I saw his friend Kenny and then Kenny's cousin. And I mean, it's unmistakable because Kenny's 6'7", so I mean, there are not too many people that are tall. So I was like, that's Kenny, he can see you, you better stop, he's watching you. So he stops, he starts to calm down, and he's telling me, please don't be mad at me, just please. He was like begging me, literally like crying and doing these motions. And so I was, okay, well, if you can settle down, then I'll go back there. So I go back, and he had even tried to hold my hand on the walk back, but I was just like, no, I'm not going to hold your hand after you've just been doing that and shaking and stuff. And he got mad about it and stayed behind. And so I went back to the campsite by myself. When I arrived there, I saw Kenny and his cousin sitting there, and he looked really somber, and he's sitting there and he's asking me, are you okay?
Is this Kenny?
That's Kenny, yes.
You remember that happening?
I don't remember me saying if she was okay or anything. I just remember the incident.
Good. All right, let's get to it. So you're back at the campsite now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there with Kenny. He's asking me if I'm okay and whatnot. Justin comes up and he says, get over here. And I turned to him and I said, listen, I've already explained to you, if you're going to talk to me that way, I'm not going to talk to you. So he comes, asks nicely, please, I just want to talk to you. Starts bothering me with that, begging again. So I go talk to him again. And I decide, okay, we can go to sleep now. This is enough of this. Let's just let it go. So we go into the bed, and he starts to do it again. He was like, getting close to me and trying to kiss me and stuff, and I was like, you know what, finally, I'm going to leave. I listed off the reasons why.
Okay, you should have done that the first time. So, you got out of the truck. What happened when you got out of the truck?
This time I went the right way down to the exit, and he comes running up behind me, telling me, don't leave, don't leave. And he grabs my arms again. So that time, I was really fed up with the situation. My hands were like this, and I pushed him, forward. I was like, get off of me. And I started walking away, and he really couldn't handle the fact that I was walking away.
Well, you called him a name also.
Well, I called him a moron in the end.
Okay, so you called him a moron. And after you called him a moron, what happened?
Well, what happened is he called me a firsthand, and then I said, I can't be I'm not sleeping with you, you're a moron.
Okay.
And then so he got mad at me calling him a moron, and he said, oh, I'll show you what a moron is. And he drew back, and then he socked me in the face, and after that, I don't remember anything at that point until I was in the ambulance.
You have medical report?
Certainly.
Can I see them, please?
Sure.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Bet Wager says former friend Justin Lawson punched her in the head after she rebuffed his sexual advances.
Okay. Were you smoking marijuana that night?
No, but I have done it in the past.
What about him?
Yes.
Didn't have just a little?
I wasn't with him while he was doing it.
We smoked on the way up there. We smoked a doobie, a joint.
Doobie. And after that, sir? Did you smoke any more?
No.
Okay, Justin.
Well, at the time she was staying with me for a couple weeks, and we got invited to go up to Carlsbad State Beach with his family. I decided to ask her if she wanted to go along. She said yes, that would be cool. On the way up there, everything was fine. We got up there and stopped at the campsite, had some dinner, and everything was going okay. Yes, I was cuddly with her. At the time, we were intimate. And
you were intimate?
Yes, at the time before.
Just a second. For the first time?
No, this is for 2 weeks prior that we hooked up, and that's when she was living with me. We went to the bar that night.
Is that right?
I had known him for a week, and I wasn't living with him. I was staying with my girlfriend who he knew.
The question is, had you been intimate with him before the night of the 15th of July?
A week prior, yes.
You had been? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you got into the bed of the truck, you anticipated that this was going to be a recurring theme.
Not necessarily. Yes, I can say I have been drinking that night. I got in and just pretty much put my arm around her and cuddled like I would do any other time. Yeah, I might have touched her stomach or rubbed her leg and gave her the wrong impression. Yes, she got out of the car and she walked away. I chased her down because at the time I had feelings for her. I liked her. So I followed her, asked her what was going on, and she said she wasn't happy and that she wanted to leave. We went for the walk, talked about it and everything was fine. All the way back, she was being kind of loud, and she wanted to go into the campsite and get one of her bags or something. I told her that we couldn't go in the campsite until she got a little bit quiet because his parents were sleeping at the time. And she didn't like that fact at all. You know, she wanted her bag out of my truck right then and there. She wasn't going to stay with me that night. She wanted to go home.
So she wanted to go back to the campsite to get her bag to leave.
Yes, out of my truck at the time. And at the time, I couldn't let her in just because of my parents were sleeping and she was being loud. She was being belligerent. At the time of that, Kenny walked up with his cousin, asked us what was going on. She said nothing was going on and went in and got her bag or whatever. Well, she started walking off, and I called her name for walking off.
Called her a name?
Yes, I called her a B for walking off, you know.
You mean for leaving?
For leaving, yes. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand what was happening. All night long, everything was great. Through dinner, everything was great. And then,
well, this was the second time, Justin, that she was trying to leave.
Yeah, she tried to walk away, and I stopped her before, yes.
So why didn't you just let her leave?
Well, the second time when she turned around, you know, I said, you know, I don't know why you're being a B. You know, I don't see why we can't just talk and see what's going on. Because I didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, she just turned on me. I mean, it was all night long she was cool, and then all of a sudden she turned on me, and it was totally a different face. So finally I told her, I said, well, yeah, why don't you go home? And so she started walking or whatever. Well, I said something underneath my breath, and she heard me, and she didn't like what I said. To this day, I cannot remember exactly what I said. I might have called her an H or something, but I don't know for sure. She turned around, came over, and started pushing on me. She lunged the last time. I stepped out of the way. She fell down. She was laying on her face. I waited for her to get up or whatever, and she didn't move at all, so I rolled her over, and she was having a seizure. At the time, he ran in and got his dad. His dad's a diabetic, has seizures and stuff. So he's like, she's having a seizure right now. Don't touch her.
Who said that?
His father.
I don't care what you say his father said. That's hearsay. If his father wanted to support your position, he could have been here.
He's at work, so...
That's your story. Your story is she fell over and she was having a seizure.
Yes.
She never had a seizure before in her life.
Well, the paramedics, when they came to pick her up, she got up and walked to the ambulance herself. You know, she was...
Did you tell the paramedics she had a seizure?
No,
are you the friend that told the paramedics that she had a seizure, Justin?
I told the ranger that I thought she was having a seizure.
You told the ranger that you thought she was having a seizure?
Yeah.
How from a seizure did she have a swollen problem with her temporomandibular joint?
Because she fell face first on the ground.
You fall face first. You fall over here. You don't fall on your side.
Well, when I rolled her over, she was laying with her face like this, like with her arms out.
Justin, I don't buy that, honey.
Well, I'm sorry.
Justin, I don't buy that, my dear. If you know why? Because it doesn't make sense. Because if you're having a seizure and you fall, and even if you fall on your side, you fall on this side of your head, you don't. It's very hard to fall on this indentation unless you happen to be unlucky enough to fall on a rock that's sticking out on this part of your face. So you could fall over here, you could fall over here, fall on the front of your face, but to fall and get this part of your face, that's quite a trick. You ought to be in Cirque du Soleil. That's why I don't buy what you're saying to me, Justin.
Okay.
Don't buy it, my dear. And the fact that you went to the hospital afterwards with her and waited for her to wake up and told the doctor before she woke up that she had had a seizure. That's what, you're the friend. You did go to the hospital with her, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Were you nervous?
At the hospital?
Yeah.
I was crying the whole time. I didn't know what happened to her.
I don't blame you for crying. I don't think that you meant anything to happen bad to her that night. I think you had a little too much to drink and a little too much to smoke. And she wanted to leave and she wanted to go home, and you didn't want her to go home, and you left out the fact that, according to your answer, you said, I grabbed her bag to throw it back in my truck, but she kept pushing me, trying to get her bag back. How come you forgot that? How come you forgot to tell me that you weren't letting her leave, that you took her bag and you were throwing it in your truck because you were trying to prevent her from leaving?
Well, I just told her that I was going to grab her bag, and I grabbed it as I was saying, I'll take you home in the morning. And at that time, it was no problem until...
Well, how come you didn't tell me that, Justin?
I don't know. I'm sorry I left it out.
It's a good story, Justin. It doesn't wash with me. I think you got angry with her. I think when she called you a moron, you hauled off and socked her, and I think she fell down, she hit her head, and you got a little bit nervous.
Well, I didn't sock her.
Well, that's what I think you did. And since my judgment is the only one that counts, and since her story is supported by what I'm reading in the medical reports, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,900. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We've known each other for a week, so it wasn't a long-term relationship or anything to get really serious about.
You can't say boyfriend and girl if I can say sexual partners.
Well, if she tried to leave a situation, she should have the right to leave the situation.
Any guy that cares about a girl is not going to let him leave.
No means no.
1-year-old auto detailer Brad Soderblom is suing his former friend, 20-year-old delivery man Richard Martin Jr., for his share of damage to a hotel room. Brad says during a night of heavy drinking, Richard fell through a window.
Yeah, this is case number 493 on the calendar in the matter of Soderblom versus Martin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Oh, goodness gracious me. All right, which one of you goofballs rented this hotel room to have a party?
Yeah, that's my witness here, Your Honor.
This goofball right over there. Raise your hand. Goofball. Good.
It's me.
Perfect. And so you went into an unsuspecting hotel with a bunch of barely out of their teens goofballs, and they proceeded to wreck the place. Right?
Yes.
And now you come to court and you say, oh, no, you go figure it out. So I guess I have to do it because it's my job. But it's irritating. Do you understand how irritating that? Why are you smiling?
I don't know.
Well, don't. It's irritating. Okay. Where do you live?
St. Louis.
On what date did you rent this hotel room?
The night of December 23rd.
Why?
We were bored and we wanted to have something to do, I guess. We were going to play poker.
And how many people did you invite to the hotel room?
There's probably between 10 and 15 people there.
And what was the name of this hotel?
The Days Inn.
When you rented this room, who was responsible for bringing the alcohol? Raise your hand.
No.
You had to watch that in slow motion. It was really quite interesting. And what kind of alcohol did you bring?
Just Bud Light.
How much?
Yeah. I had about a 12-pack or more.
12-pack or more. Did they make a 16-pack?
Yeah, it was probably a 16-pack.
They make a 16-pack?
No, I just called it that. I had about 12 plus 4 more.
So you had a 12-pack and you carried 4 bottles loose?
Right.
And what about you? What did you bring?
I brought a 12-pack. I didn't finish it.
Just for you?
Yeah.
And was your 12-pack just for you?
Yes.
And what about you?
I had some beer there, too.
Did you bring any?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you raise your hand? When I said who brought alcohol, this one raised his hand right away because he's scared to death of me, which is a very good one. This one's not too sure.
I thought you were just looking at them, asking them if they brought alcohol.
No, I'm an ecumenical abuser.
I did too.
What did you bring?
12-pack of Bud Light.
And was that just for you?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
That's better. Okay, so this is what the lawsuit is about. You rented the room on your credit card. There was some damage to the room in the amount of $360?
No, the damage total was $955. Myself and the defendant were responsible for $710. So I
You
paid...
mean responsible because you damaged $710
right,
worth?
because of our stupidity.
Yes.
And I paid him, my witness, his amount, plus the half of the $355 that he owed, because he refused to pay anything.
I wish I could figure out a way to really torture them better.
Well, you will.
You're right. Who are you?
Mary Burkhardt.
How are you related to this case?
I'm a friend of Richard's, and I was bringing him home that night.
She's the sober one that was there. The only sober one.
Who are you?
I'm DJ Feldorf.
What'd you do?
I was there at the party.
You were one of the goofballs?
Yes.
Good. Mr. Hill, I want you to describe the damage to the room that was done at the Days Inn.
There was a hole in the bathroom door, blood on the mattress.
From what?
From one of them going through the window and coming back in the room.
Yeah. Keep going.
Carpet extraction to clean the glass. Rooms got charged. Both rooms got charged because the mattress had to get replaced and the room with the window broken had to get replaced. So
You mean there were two different rooms?
the room that the window got broken in was not my room.
Whose room was that?
It was nobody's room. It was a vacant room. They were on the balcony when they were wrestling and went through a different room. It wasn't even my room, and I paid for it.
What else?
That's it. They charged for the room, the mattress, the carpet, the door, the window, an AC vent below the window, and the labor for the window.
And they had your credit card for this, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good for you, Days In. What kind of work do you do?
I work at Subway.
You work at Subway?
Yes.
You know how many sandwiches you have to make for $955?
Yes.
Were you the only group staying at the Days Inn that night?
There were other guests there.
How many times did somebody call, knock at the door, and say, "Could you keep it down"?
There were no complaints. We weren't very loud.
Except when there were fights.
At the end, yes. That was at like 6 a.m.
No, we were fighting. No, there was. He wasn't even playing poker. This side was playing poker of the room. This side over here was like a party room.
Party room, what does that mean?
Like a party room, like where everybody's just standing up, drinking, having fun, and then everyone's over here wrestling, while everyone over here is playing poker.
Everyone's not wrestling.
So,
I want you to describe to me what you did to cause Mr. Soderblom to sue you today for your portion of whatever he paid.
Well, we were in the wrestling.
In which room?
In the hotel room, and we were wrestling. Everybody was, not just me. And then by the end of the night, after poker, I started wrestling too. I admit that we started getting into it. I mean, we had a room and there's 2 beds, and we're roughhousing and stuff. And then I said I was going to leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. There's only 5 people left. And then he followed me out of my room. And
he followed you out of the room?
Yeah. And
is that right so far? You followed him out of the room?
He skipped a part.
Right, you missed something,
Sure,
but I followed him.
I'm going to listen
Yes,
to his
ma'am.
story. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And then it's a good 10 or 15 feet to the next door. And then he came behind me, and I grabbed him as he pushed me, and he like pushed me to the window.
Okay, now you tell me your version of how that happened.
Okay. I'll skip all the BS he was talking about.
Excuse me?
No, about anything didn't have anything to do with how the wrestling started.
Don't forget where you are, Mr. Soderblom.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Soderblom says former friend Richard Martin Jr. owes for damage he caused to a hotel room. Brad says a drunken Richard fell through a window.
Go ahead.
At 5 o'clock a.m., as he was leaving, I went to shake his hand. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and he grabbed my arm and pulled me down on the ground. And then he ran out of the room thinking it was funny. I didn't think it was funny, so I chased him out, and we started arguing.
Well, you chased him out into the hall.
Right.
He was leaving.
Yes.
So the danger was gone.
Yes.
It was no longer a question if it could ever be considered self-defense. He was extricating himself from the situation
Right.
by leaving. And you chased him outside.
Right.
Now, continue.
I followed him into the hall, and I was a little upset.
So what did you do being upset and after your 12-plus pack?
We just started arguing, and then...
Well, tell me about the argument. Were you yelling at each other?
Yes, we were yelling at each other.
At 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
When the other people in the hotel was sleeping?
There wasn't anybody else on the floor.
You mean you had the whole floor? You probably emptied them out?
Yes, there was no other rooms within the area where we were at.
Go ahead.
And we started arguing, yelling at each other, and we started pushing each other. And we were locked onto each other like this. He had his arms right here, and I had my arms on his. And we were wrestling, and he caught the back end of the window, and he went back into it like that, and then I went forward, and I got a cut on my finger as well. Because if I pushed him to the window, then I wouldn't have any scars or marks on me.
You want to tell me your version of were you sober? Did you see this? Did you see this part of what happened?
Yes.
Okay, step up. Tell me your name.
Mary Burkhardt.
All right, Mary, tell me what you saw.
We left the hotel room. From what I remember, Brad was already on the floor. And we said goodbye to everybody. We were walking out down the stairs.
Who were you walking with?
Richard.
So the two of you were walking together. Mm-hmm. You left that out. Is that true?
I don't remember her being there, right there. She was by the door.
So she was outside?
Afterwards, yes.
Go ahead.
As we were walking out, we heard someone rushing up on Richard. Brad started wrestling with him, and when he grabbed him, out of natural reaction, Richard grabbed him back, and they fell into the window.
Okay, good. Sit down. Mr. Soderblom, there are certain generally accepted principles of law, and one of them is that if you can say in a civil action, in a civil case, and this is a civil case, but for your actions, this incident would not have occurred, I'm comfortable in finding that he's not responsible, just you. He was leaving the room, all you had to do was, and you weren't hurt, you weren't in danger, you may have felt marginally disrespected by him. However, probably you wouldn't have felt that way if you didn't have too much to drink. Everybody was roughhousing that day. He didn't intend to hurt you. And you were not at risk in any way when you went outside and confronted him. So you caused the damage. Pay for it. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I gave the police his information, and he was contacted that morning.
The next morning, I got a DWI.
They just told us that if we didn't pay for the damages, then we would be going to jail.
I think that if they didn't drink so much and not realize what they were doing, stuff like this wouldn't happen.
It changes your state of mind. You don't realize what's going on.
Me and this guy, we always get into it when we're drunk anyway, so. And then this time it just went a little bit too far.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Popejoy Swihart versus Ward. Step forward, please.
Student Rachel Popejoy and her father, Dwayne Swihart, are suing their former friend, systems analyst Margaret Ward, for misappropriating bail money meant for Rachel. Margaret says she used the money to buy food for Rachel's kids.
Miss Popejoy, you were arrested.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
On November the 12th.
What were you arrested for?
I was arrested for willful reckless driving, driving on suspension, and no proof of insurance.
And this was the first time you were arrested for something like that because
Correct.
they fixed very high bail.
Right.
And this is your complaint. You contacted your father.
Correct.
Told him you were in jail, and could he please wire how much money?
$1,500.
For your bail?
Yes, ma'am.
And he said probably reluctantly, okay. And he wired the money because you were living where, sir?
In Michigan.
And where were you living?
Omaha, Nebraska.
You wired the money to Miss Ward, who was a friend of your daughter's.
Correct.
With the instruction to go to court and bail her out.
Correct.
And when you went to court, they said you had been such a bad girl previously that the bail wasn't $1,500 but a lot more. How much?
$5,000 at that point.
Which you didn't have.
Correct.
So Miss Ward took $700 and put it in your prison account so that you could, get toilet paper and toothpaste and magazines and gum and whatever you needed. And she kept $800 for herself.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So that's what we're here for today, the $800 that Miss Ward kept for herself. So, Miss Ward, the ball is now in your court, and you're going to explain to me why you did not return the entire $1,500 to Mr. Swihart.
I first became involved with Rachel in June, and her children were coming to my house because they were starving, and I'm not using the term lightly. They were really hungry.
Were you neighbors?
Yeah, they live about 2 blocks from me.
So you started to give them food?
Mm-hmm. And so I did. I started feeding her children all summer. They came to me, and Shelby about moved in with me. And there were times when she and her boyfriend Jason would leave and they'd lock up the trailer. They wouldn't come back for 2 days. It's 90 degrees outside. They had no water and they had no access to a toilet or anything. They always came to me every time, and I took care of her children all summer.
Okay.
Then somebody called CPS on them, and she came to me and asked me for help. So I bought $250 worth of food because they had nothing, and it took quite a bit to put food in. And they didn't have any electricity and any gas. That had all been shut off. So I went down the following Monday, and I paid her electric bill was $186 so I could keep the food cold. And she promised she would pay me back. About a week after that, her boyfriend Jason came up into our house, and they were coming in all hours of the night and day. They would come to our house asking for money, and he stole $225 from me. And then a week after that, he came up and he stole another $200 from my granddaughter. So after I couldn't put the bail money down, I mean, there wasn't enough money. She called me the same day and said she talked to them, and they said to put the $1,500, it was okay to go ahead and put that on her books. Well, I didn't really trust that. So
yeah,
after
but you put only $700 on her books at the prison, and you kept $800.
Yeah, for the money that they had stole from me and the money she promised to pay me back.
Where are your children now?
My children are in foster care, Your Honor.
How old are your children?
15, 12, and 8.
They don't have any relatives who can help take care of them?
I don't have any family in Nebraska, Your Honor.
What about you?
We live in Michigan.
That's not Mars.
No, they can move up there anytime they want.
Well, why don't you make an application to the court to take your grandchildren, sir?
They told me they wanted to keep the children with my daughter.
Who did?
The counselors.
Well, are you still with this boyfriend?
Yes, I am. And that we're both clean and sober, have been. We go to meetings every single night.
For how long have you been clean and sober?
For almost 90 days, Your Honor. I've completed a parenting class. I've completed a reactive behavior. I've taken several classes.
Listen to me, my darling. How long have you and Jason been involved with drugs?
For probably 6 months.
And what about Jason? How long have you been with Jason?
For about 8 months. I've known him for a couple of years.
Listen to me very carefully. You're not supposed to be a selfish person.
You're right.
Do you think your children would be happier with their grandparents or in strange foster care?
With their grandparents.
Then you tell the social worker that you would love to be reunited with your children at the appropriate time. Now's not it. Probably until Jason has been clean and sober for 3-4 years. Until that time, the children would prefer to be with their grandparents.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, I know you say okay. You're not supposed to be selfish. Miss Ward, bottom line, my dear, you cannot resort to self-help. If you want to sue her for the money that she owes you. And if you want to sue Jason, sue him for the money you say he stole. But you can't take Mr. Swihart's money. Be ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Pardon the excuse, you may step out.
Even though her and Jason spent the money together, she had Jason steal everything.
I never said anybody to steal anything from her. I certainly wasn't raised that way.
Once the children were taken away, then she just came after me to see if she could get more money for drugs.
She has helped us out in the past, but she went to extreme with her lies, and all I can say is I'll pray for her.
I can't let this woman and her father stop me from doing what's right.
I'm just thankful to be here. Thanks, Judge Judy, for your time, and I've certainly learned my lesson.
5-year-old artist Allison Hannick is suing her former business partner, store owner Deborah Walters, for her fee for making Mardi Gras masks. Deborah claims Allison's workmanship was bad. She is countersuing for the resulting expenses.
Your Honor, this is case number 524 on the calendar in the matter of Hannick versus Walters. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hannick, according to your complaint, you and Ms. Walters knew each other and entered into a joint business venture.
Correct.
And the business venture was as follows. Ms. Walters would provide the funds and materials, and you would provide the labor in making Mardi Gras masks that were going to be sold this past year at Mardi Gras. In exchange for your labor, your agreement was that you were to be paid a certain amount per mask at the point that the mask was sold, which was $10. Correct?
Yes.
And how many masks were you supposed to make?
We were trying to make 1,500 masks.
And then there came a point when Miss Walters, according to you, said she no longer required your services for one reason or another. At that point, Miss Walters said, I'm only going to give you $2 per mask.
Yes.
Your Honor, that is incorrect. Completely incorrect, because we never talked about a set amount.
That's what she says.
She's incorrect.
And you had completed 275 masks?
Yes.
And she gave you $100?
Yes.
That's also incorrect. I have receipts.
So at that point, you say she owed you $550. She gave you $100, leaving a balance of $450.
Right.
Then you say she didn't pay you the $450, so now you're suing her for the entire amount.
Yes.
Which is whatever, $2,500.
Yes.
Ms. Walters says that the work that you performed was substandard. You had a lousy work ethic. She is counterclaiming for the losses she incurred as a result of you not completing the work in a timely fashion and in a substandard fashion. That's her counterclaim. Okay. When did you enter into this business arrangement with Ms. Walters?
It was in August of last year.
And how did you know her?
We met March of last year. I hired her to make a pair of leather moccasin boots. I ended up working with her on and off, apprenticing for about 2 months.
Okay, so that's how you knew it. And the arrangements, I think that you both agree on, that you were supposed to make 1,500 masks, that you were going to be paid $10 a piece at the point of sale. Was that
That is not correct. We were going to split half of the net profit after expenses, because some of these masks would have only been $10.
Just a second. So you say your agreement was that you were going to split the profits 50-50.
After the costs.
You invested a certain amount in materials.
An extreme amount in materials.
Okay. When did you start working on the masks?
I arrived back in town on November 12th.
Where had you been?
I was out east doing another job managing a Renaissance booth. And
How long did you think it was going to take you to make these masks? Mardi Gras is sometime in January, is that right?
February.
February?
Yeah.
February.
We agreed that we could probably get it done within 2 or 3 months' time.
Your Honor, I've been making these masks.
Okay. At what point did Miss Walters tell you she didn't want you to work anymore?
I left for Christmas. It was December 28th, I believe, is when I got back. And I talked to her on the phone, and she said she was having a change of heart. She needed a few days to think about it. So I gave her a few days. I came back into the shop, and she said that she had already hired somebody else to go to Mardi Gras, and she didn't want me to go.
Okay, Miss Hannick.
Yeah.
Between November and December,
Yeah.
you had made 275 masks.
Yes.
In 2 months.
Yes.
Then you had, at most, 1 more month to make 1,200 masks.
Yes.
How did you plan on doing that, my dear?
Well, see, that's the thing.
That's my question.
Most of November, there were no materials. I got back November 12th. She had half a skin. I made 54 masks out of that. She did not order any more materials until November 30th. And I was pressing her. I was like, we have a lot to do. I have a lot of work to do. I can't work if there's nothing to work on.
Shh, just a second. When did you leave for Christmas?
I left on the 23rd.
At the last minute?
If you interrupt again, I'm going to rule against you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a tea party. So she's going to have an opportunity to tell me her side of the story. Then it's going to be your turn. So you're going to have to learn to control yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the second time you said yes, Your Honor. Third time, you're out of here. Do you understand? Good. And that means your counterclaim is dismissed, and that means that she will be successful. Understood? Good. Okay. Now I forgot where I was. Do you remember where I was?
I have no idea.
Ah. Somebody put a period. Okay. So far, I have 275 masks completed at the time when she said, I don't need your help anymore.
Yeah.
And how much do these masks sell for?
About $20 at the cheapest.
Is that correct?
That is not correct. Okay. The base price is $10.
Can I see an example of some of the masks that she completed? Is that one? Can I see it, please? And is this the condition which she turned it in?
Oh, yes.
Is that correct?
I don't know that that's my work.
It is.
Okay, well, if you don't know and she's saying it is, then I have to assume that it is. Can I see an example of finished work that you think is quality work? Because that's one of your complaints.
Would you like me to take it off? I brought this one purposely because it is the most simplest design. It doesn't have a lot of abstract work. But if you'll notice, I brought the template.
Can I please see a couple of other examples of what she turned into you?
We actually used this one as the poster child after Allie was gone for what not to do.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Well, it's not supposed to be the Phantom of the Opera. It does look like half a mask, though, doesn't it?
Okay. I see that some of these are finished with this in it.
Yes, the straps go on very last because they don't get the straps on until after I color them.
I see. So it was your responsibility to color them, her responsibility to prepare these?
That was just the beginning of her responsibility. To receive half of the net profit, I have with me a 16-step process which includes and is not limited to just the tracing and the molding of these masks. It goes on for 18 more steps.
Well, I have only so many good years left in my life, so I'm not interested in reading your 16 pages. All I want to know is, when she turned in the masks, what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
I said to her that I had a change of heart, that I could not trust her with all of these masks to go to New Orleans. She was incompetent, and that I would be willing to give her $2 a mask for the masks that she produced. That was before I inspected them all. Once I inspected them, I realized they weren't worth $2 a mask.
When did you tell her that?
That was sometime in January.
Okay, you're stuck. You're stuck with $2.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Hannock says her former business partner, Deborah Walters, never paid her for making leather Mardi Gras masks. Deborah says the masks were of poor quality.
Now, at what point do you allege that she gave you $100?
It was probably like the second week of January.
Tell me under what circumstances she gave you the $100.
Well, we had the conversation after I went to the shop, and she offered me $2, and I was like, well, I want to see something for all the work I've done. I went a week after that, and she gave me the $100. I just walked into the store, she handed me the check, and I walked out. She had said that she would have to pay me $100 a week because that was her financial budget. I tried to contact her the next week, couldn't get a hold of her, and then finally when I got a hold of her, it was after Mardi Gras, and she had said, well, you know, Mardi Gras didn't go as well as I had hoped, so I don't feel that I have to pay you anything.
Okay. Ms. Walters, I believe you when you say that this was going to be a joint venture. You probably had the conversation of, we'll split the profits 50-50 after my expenses. However, there was a settlement, and the settlement was when you broke up this joint venture that you would be paid $2 a mask for the work that you did in fact complete. So that's not $2,500, that's $450 because she gave you $100. Now you have a counterclaim. I want you to explain the counterclaim to me, and I don't want you to go into the amount of money that you lost as a result of her poor workmanship, because, as far as I'm concerned, you had these masks in your possession. You had an opportunity to inspect them. You made an agreement with her, despite the fact that you say, well, after I looked at them, I saw that they weren't worth $2 a piece. You made the arrangement. If you made a bad arrangement, that's not her fault. Now, you have another part of your counterclaim, and that is that you advanced her some money.
Yes, I did. I have
that. I want to hear.
Well, I had to pay her rent for her to be able to stay in town.
Just a second. Tell me about the conversation where she said she needed rent money.
Immediately upon getting into town on the 12th, as she said, she owed the person who she worked for before, red flag, $300, and I had to pay basically to get her out of hock from her last job for $300. That's this particular check.
Just a second. I don't understand.
Then the next check.
You're not listening. You're not paying attention to me. Don't have your own agenda. My agenda is the only one that counts. I don't understand. I had to get her out of hock from her last job. That's a conclusion. What did she say to you, and what did you say to her?
She said, I owe him $300. I need to pay him. This will be a draw from our Mardi Gras fund at the end.
What was the $300 for?
She paid me $300, but she paid me, I worked a Renaissance fair with her. She paid me $75 a day for each day. It was 3 days. And she was paying me $8 an hour to work in her store on all of these projects that she had to get done.
I never had her as an employee in my store.
The reason she's saying that is because I never filled out any W-2s.
Okay. How come from December until now you didn't file a claim against her for this $300?
I was not planning on suing her. I was going to eat my losses, but once she brought me to court, I feel that it's only fair. If she wants to sue me for half of the profits, she should be responsible for half of the loss.
Well, she's not going to be responsible for half the loss. Is that what you wanted to pay for? She's not responsible for half the loss.
Well,
you
that's
settled with
what
her.
my counterclaim is.
I thought your counterclaim encompassed these loans that you made for her. If you say not?
My counterclaim is for $2,100 to try to recoup some of my losses.
Okay. Ms. Walters, then you make my job much easier. If what you're suing for is for half your losses, what I have found is the two of you settled whatever business venture this was, when you agreed to pay her $2 a mask and she agreed to accept that amount. And that's the only thing that I'm hearing. I'm not hearing her request for triple that amount based upon what she could have made, and I'm not hearing your counterclaim for half your losses because she didn't do the job to your satisfaction. So I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450, which represents the amount due and owing to her on your settlement for $2 a mask. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excused. You may step out.
She came into Prescott after being gone for a while, and it was party time.
Oh, that's not true at all. I was working very hard.
Judge Judy rocks.
I really like Judge Judy. She's pretty cool.
Michael Caraselli is suing business owner Mac Brame for misrepresenting the sale of a jet ski on eBay. Mac says it's Michael who is trying to run a scam.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 521 on the calendar in the matter of Caraselli versus Brame. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Caraselli, according to what I've read in your complaint, you responded to an eBay sale of a jet ski.
Yes, ma'am.
That was placed by Mr. Brame. And you traveled to where he was, you purchased it, and when you got the jet ski home, you had it examined by someone who told you that it was not functioning. It had been immersed in water and it was not usable. You then stopped payment on the check that you gave to Mr. Brame. Mr. Brame subsequently contacted the authorities. You were arrested and you made an agreement that you would pay out the $1,700 or the $1,800 that you had agreed to pay because it was under threat of going to jail. Now you want that money back, plus punitive damages because you say you still can't use the jet ski. In addition, according to you, Mr. Brame didn't even have title to the jet ski, which he couldn't pass on to you, and you still don't have the title.
That's correct.
Mr. Brame says you're the scam artist. Okay, so may I see the ad that you answered, please, sir?
Your Honor, I'm not sure if he gave you...
You want to take a look at this and see?
I was just wanting to... I knew how many pages there were, and you don't have them all.
May I see what you have?
Mine are also in color that show the damages pretty well to the jet ski.
Okay. Let me tell you what I see here, Mr. Caraselli, before we get going. According to your complaint, let me see if I can find your exact words. This vehicle I paid over $1,800 for, according to you, quote, was virtually worthless and would cost over $1,800 to bring up to running condition. The eBay notice said the engine was in perfect condition and looked like new. That's what you say. But that's not true, sir. Let's look at the documents that you gave me. The first thing it says here, this item is being sold for a friend.
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have given me cause to pause right away. Why isn't the friend selling it? Why is he selling it? So you knew immediately, based upon this, that he was not the owner. Then you say that it was in like new condition, looked like new, the engine was new, but that's not what it says, sir. It says, and he clearly says, I've tried to show this thing in the worst and best condition. It was banged up against a dock, doesn't look good. He says, I have not heard the jet ski run. The battery is dead. The engine looks like new and is most likely in perfect condition, but there are no guarantees. That's very different from saying the engine is new.
Yes, ma'am.
What this man is saying to you, to a reasonable person, is, don't buy this jet ski. It's dead. I haven't heard it running. It probably is good. The engine looks good because it's clean, and there are no guarantees. So he sold this to you as is.
Yes, ma'am.
With that in mind, now you can tell me that when you got it home, what did you do?
First thing I did was bring it to a mechanic. And let me just back up by saying we talked about the condition of the jet ski. The body was understood. It was in physical bad condition. That wasn't in dispute. I wasn't...
I know we're not talking about that, sir. Just get over to the next point. The next point I made to you is sold with absolutely no guarantees. That's what he says here, and you purchased it that way. So you got it home, you had it looked at by a mechanic, and the mechanic said it's worthless. So what happened next?
Well, I brought it to the mechanic, and it wasn't that the engine was in bad shape. This apparently was underwater and sunk, which he did not tell me about. That was the basis.
Just a second. He said, I don't know anything about this jet ski. I'm selling it for a friend.
I understand that.
That's what this said.
This was somebody that he knew. He had information about the jet ski. I felt that selling something as is and that he didn't run it was different than knowing that the ski had been turned over and was submerged in water.
Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Brain knew? Stop playing with your paper, sir. It's irritating.
I'm sorry.
Knew that the jet ski had been submerged.
I don't have any personal knowledge of that other than when I opened up the compartment for the seat, the engine compartment was totally clean. It was coming from a friend of his, and he was representing the jet ski.
No. He wasn't representing anything. My question to you is, do you have any proof that he knew that this jet ski had been submerged?
I don't have any personal knowledge of that, ma'am.
That's it. So what did you do?
I stopped payment on the check immediately because I figured he felt he knew. My feeling was
I don't care what you felt.
Okay.
I don't care what your feelings go elsewhere.
Yes,
this is a court.
I called him immediately to say that I'm stopping payment on the check because I brought it to the mechanic the next day. I called him that day and left him a message.
Okay.
And told him that the check was not going to clear. I was putting a stop payment. And what did he want to do?
He's lying, Your Honor.
Don't, Mr. Brain, don't speak.
I subsequently got the report from the mechanic.
I don't care what the report says.
And then I sent him an email to say, and I have the email that I sent him saying, the ski is no good. It was full of water in the engine. You didn't tell me that. What do you want to do to pick it up? And he never responded to that email.
You mean you wanted him to come and pick it up?
I wanted him to contact me. He wasn't contacting me.
No, did you say to him, you just said to come and pick it up?
That's what the email said. I wanted to evoke a response because he wasn't returning any of my phone calls.
Just a second. What you said to him in the email was, when are you going to come and pick it up? And how long a drive was it?
About 600 miles.
600 miles.
Yes,
so you wanted him to come and pick up the jet ski?
I was willing to bring it back, but he
Where
was
did
not.
you tell him that in the email?
The email didn't say that. I figured he would now finally call me if he got this email.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Caroselli says he was scammed on eBay by Mac Brain. Michael claims Mac sold him a jet ski that had been sunk.
You say that the ski can be picked up in Pineville, North Carolina at your convenience. It's about 500 miles away. This is non-negotiable, nor up for debate. That's what you said.
In the email,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then you found out that he stopped payment on the check.
Yes.
And you contacted the authorities.
He did not.
Shh. What did you do?
First off, he never called me at all. I never got any correspondence in any kind of way as far as him saying...
You got the email.
Right, I got the email. At that point in time, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a clue as to what my recourse should be at that point.
Let me have the name of the person, the name of the friend for whom you were selling the jet ski. John.
Who's not the owner.
Shh. Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want you to explain to me, Mr. Braham, how it came about that you got this jet ski from John.
He's been a friend for quite some years. He was opening a daycare in a local town. He was needing money. He was asking me to sell various items for him on eBay.
Why didn't he put the items up himself on eBay?
Okay, because on eBay, when you first begin to sell, you don't have any feedback. And feedback's a very important thing when you sell on eBay. It tells everyone out there if you're an honest person or a dishonest person. So when you first start selling, you have a big goose egg beside your name, which means no one knows anything about you. He asked me would I do it.
It doesn't sound like a very good friend to me, sir.
He is a good friend.
No. Good friend is not somebody that uses your good name. What he did was give you an item that caused you trouble.
Oh, it did, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it gave you trouble because either he did not represent to you that it had been a salvaged vehicle.
It wasn't a salvaged vehicle.
And how do you know that, sir?
I have the title in my possession, and it's not a salvaged vehicle.
Submerged.
Okay. Most any jet ski, what knowledge I know of jet skis, and from my seeing people on them, often they're submerged.
I'm not interested in what you think you know about jet skis, so you're not an expert on jet skis.
No, ma'am, I'm not.
I've seen them, too. So, did you ever see to it that Mr. Caroselli got clear title to this jet ski?
No, ma'am. I have an email here from Mr. Caroselli when he would not let me come get it. He said the jet ski was gone.
Oh, can I see that,
He no
please?
longer had the jet ski.
Can I see that,
yes,
please?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you do with the jet ski, sir?
I still have it.
Well, why did you tell him that you didn't? You said, sorry, it's gone now.
The state of South Carolina deemed that it was abandoned because he would not respond. I sent a letter to him.
No, but that's not what, Mr. Caroselli, what you say here...
I was sitting at the mechanic. That time I was sitting at the mechanics.
I don't care if it's sitting at the mechanics, sir. Then you say it's at the mechanics. You don't say, sorry, it's gone now.
The state of South Carolina required me to get in touch with the registered owner in reference to the ski because he would not return calls. I couldn't return it to him.
Why don't you just say that here instead of saying it's gone now, Mr.
Still never called me at no
Mr.
point.
Caroselli, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Give
ma'am,
me
I
a
do.
reasonable answer, sir.
I'm giving you the truth.
No.
I'm telling you what
So
I
you
did.
lied in here.
I physically...
So you lied in here.
I didn't tell him the whole truth in that response.
You didn't tell him the truth.
He didn't respond at all.
You didn't tell him the truth.
No, I did. I was not totally honest in that. You're correct.
What do you want?
He also lied, and he PayPal'd us. It was an electronic form of payment. He PayPal'd us a $100 deposit for the jet ski to hold it until the next day when he could drive from South Carolina to Kentucky to pick up the jet ski. He informed PayPal that he did not receive the merchandise, so therefore he was able to get PayPal to give him his $100 deposit back because he lied to them and told them that he did not receive the merchandise.
Show me. Did you, in fact, Mr. Caroselli, notify PayPal that you did not receive the merchandise?
I don't recall what I said to PayPal, but they refunded the $100.
He stated...
Just a second, I can read.
Okay.
Well, you did say in here, sir, the reason that you're stopping payment is that the seller has never delivered the goods, nor the title.
That is correct.
Well, he did deliver the goods. You did get the goods.
It was my belief that it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Okay. I was disputing the $100 deposit because it was all part of the transaction.
Ultimately, you contacted authorities because that's why he was arrested. Is that right?
That's correct.
And he paid you the money?
He paid me the money over several payments where he agreed with the county attorney to make these payments.
Okay. Now, what did you do with the money?
I gave it to Mr.
Your Honor, the check was made out to him. The sale was with him. He told me he was selling it for a friend who owned it, and when I got contacted by the county attorney, I had not heard one word from him since day one. I got contacted 6 weeks later saying they were coming to arrest me.
Mr. Brame, do you have the ability now, as we stand here today, to transfer title to Mr. Caroselli to this jet ski?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Show me.
This title has already been signed and notarized, which I had showed to Mr. Caroselli the day he came, and it's ready for the new owner's signature to be placed on the back.
When did you show this to him?
The day he was there. I made him a copy of it and gave it to him that day to show him that I indeed had the title and he had all the information.
Is that right, Mr. Caroselli?
He did show me that title.
So if he showed you the title, you were aware of the fact that the owner's name was...
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what you said was you went into the glove compartment of the jet ski and found paperwork.
The registration.
You said, upon having the jet ski in my possession, I found the registration for the vehicle in the glove compartment. The defendant was not the registered owner. This was never disclosed in the original ad. That may be true, but that's sort of trying to mislead me, sir. So you were aware of the fact when you bought the jet ski that Mr. was the owner, not Mr. Brame.
Yes, I knew that. The point is, after I stopped payment on the check, there was nothing I could do with it anyway. Putting all this aside, I didn't have the title. I had a worthless jet ski. I'm calling him, sending him an email, whether it was fully disclosed or not. He never once got in touch with me, never picked up the phone. I had this thing sitting at the mechanic who I owed money to, and he never got in touch with me one time until I get a letter from a county attorney in the end of August, 6 weeks later, saying, Mr. Brame has now contacted my office. No police report. He never went to the sheriff's department. 6 weeks later, after he's done nothing to contact.
Your Honor, that's not true.
There's no reports in his area. He never
I don't
made
care
a
whether
report.
there's a report or not. You took 11 days to get back to me. This is your email to him. Sorry, it's gone now. Besides, you are not the registered owner anyway to have to claim it. What I'm suggesting to you, Mr. Caroselli, is I don't think you're a scam artist. I think you were really frustrated.
I was.
And you sent him an email, and you said to him, in the email that you sent to him, The engine has been underwater, it's got sludge, it's got mud, you misrepresented. You can now come 500 miles and pick it up at the Friend in North Carolina. You can come here. This is non-negotiable or up for debate. You can either accept the ski or pick it up and pay to get it back. Call me Monday and let me know what you decide.
And he never called. I used wording
Just a second.
I wanted to elicit a response from him.
He's not a mind reader, sir. He's not Karnak.
He wasn't returning.
You did the wrong thing, Mr. Caroselli.
Your Honor, we did correspond with him. I have a copy of the email where we responded to him. We said at what address and phone number is the jet ski at. We were willing to drive there and pay that $100.
I never received this email.
Just a second.
That's when you responded to us.
This is July 24th. Oh, yeah, you received this email, sir, because the next day you responded. July 24th, they said, at what address and phone number is the jet ski?
Then I
misspoke. You misspoke. On the next day, you say you took 11 days to get back to me. Sorry, it's gone now. Mr. Caroselli, unfortunately, sir, you bought yourself an as-is item.
Yes, ma'am.
And here's the title.
Your Honor.
It's signed over to you. It's been paid for.
Yes,
now you have the title.
May I say?
Yes.
It's not even so much the jet ski. I understand with the jet ski, buyer beware and all that. The point is, after all this, the contact with the county attorney. None of this had to happen. This was all inappropriate. For 6 weeks, nothing happens. They don't go to the police. I don't get a call from the Kentucky State Police. I get a call.
Receive this letter.
It's very important.
I got that letter from the county attorney saying that I've defrauded him because I've tried to deprive him of
just a second. So you were contacted.
6 weeks later by the county attorney.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. So what did you do when you received this?
I called the county attorney immediately to say, this is a civil matter. This is a dispute between two people. He was saying that I wrote him a bad check. This is an insufficient funds issue.
Listen to me, sir. Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You chose to put him in the position of having to be the active person, the person to go to court and sue you. That was your tactic.
Yes, ma'am.
And whatever emails that went back and forth, some of which I've alluded to
yes, ma'am.
Here, he chose to call the county attorney and to say, listen, he now has my jet ski, and he says I have to come and get it 600 miles, and he now has the money. That's not fair. And the county attorney contacted you, and you said he's not getting his money, and he's not getting his jet ski. Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
What you're complaining about is not the title, because you have the title. But you're complaining about the fact that he waited 6 weeks. You're not paying attention, Mr. Karras. Are you a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Because you say something.
Yeah, he told us he was.
Just a second. You say something here.
Wrote in the
Listen to me. You wrote in the email. I had it confirmed by 2 different watercraft mechanics that without a doubt the ski was underwater and you failed to disclose it. Except this is true. I practice law as well. It is a violation of the law to sell a vehicle of any type without full disclosure. So you lied to him when you said to him.
I wanted to elicit a response.
Well, here's your response. You have the title, you have your jet ski, the rest of your case is dismissed.
You're such a
That's all.
Thank you.
You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He paid me for the jet ski finally, and I hadn't heard from him in quite some time, so I assumed it was over.
He was selling a bogus jet ski for somebody who couldn't sell it themselves.
I received some paperwork in the mail showing where he was suing me.
He got the authorities involved because he refused to contact me, and currently I'm pursuing a lawsuit against him and the attorney for malicious prosecution.
It was very much spelled out in the paper along with pictures to show the jet ski.
I was trying to make it sound like he had no choice but to come get the ski.
Basically, he decides then that you can come here and get it, or I'll give you $300 for it.
He never picked up the phone one time to make one phone call.
He came there originally just to steal the jet ski, not to pay for it.
I was falsely arrested at work. I lost my job.
It did take me quite a while to decide what I wanted to do, if I wanted to drive to South Carolina or get the law enforcement involved or whatever.
They came and served a warrant for my arrest that he attested to that I defrauded him when he knows that it's just not what happened.
He had the item, disposed of the item, and took the money back.
Be careful what you buy.
23-year-old student Derek Carnahan is suing his ex-fiancée, medical secretary Samantha Parisi, for the return of an engagement ring. Samantha is countersuing for unpaid rent and the return of furniture.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 525 on the calendar in the matter of Carnahan versus Parisi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
All right, this doesn't look like a very complicated case. Let's see how expeditiously we can deal with it. Can I have the ring, please? Mr. Carnahan, this is your former fiancée. She is the mother of your child.
Yes, ma'am.
You were engaged. You broke off the engagement. You want the ring back.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you shouldn't have the ring back.
He should not have the ring back because he has cheated on me, he was physically abusive, and agreed to stop drug use in order to continue on with the marriage. And he did not do as he agreed.
And what did you find out about first? Cheating or the drugs or being abusive?
First was the abusive.
Okay. That should have been your first clue. Arrivederci, adios, sayonara, whatever, goodbye. Who are you?
I am her mother.
Right. Good, sit down. You agree with me?
Totally. Went through that for 7 years.
Good. So after he abused you, you stayed with him for 7 years, and did he abuse you before or after you had a child with him?
After.
Before you had a child with him, he wasn't abusive?
A little bit. More verbally abusive.
Abusive is abusive. So, he's abusive, you have a child with him, then he becomes verbally and physically abusive. And when was he using the drugs, before or after you had the child?
After.
And what about you?
I used drugs with him at the end.
After?
After the child, yes.
And when did he cheat on you?
In December of '04.
So you think that you're lucky to be rid of him, right?
Correct.
Who's paying for the ring?
My mother has for the past 5 months.
Is that right?
That's incorrect.
Well, show me the bills and show me your checks that you paid for it.
She did make 2 payments. We had a verbal agreement. I had a verbal agreement with Linda.
When was the last time you made a payment?
November. She made December and January.
How many payments did you make?
Your Honor, he stopped making payments. She moved back into my house in June. He immediately stopped making payments.
On the ring?
On the car.
I'm not talking about the... I don't care. Listen.
Okay, the
I'm
ring
talking
was
about
paid
ring.
for.
What?
The ring was paid for by my co-signing of a note on his car.
So the car is actually
Financed.
paid off. I mean, the ring's actually paid off, I'm sorry.
Ring was
Oh,
paid
just a
upon
second.
purchasing.
I see. So you used the car as collateral?
Exactly.
And they've got the car also.
How much did you physically actually pay towards this ring?
The whole entire amount.
Well, you paid for it with the car loan.
That's correct.
And when was the last time you paid on the car loan?
November. November, December. I've been trying to have verbal. I had a verbal agreement with her. She used my daughter as a pawn to come and try to repossess my car, and you know, I mean, they owe me money. Samantha owes me $500 previous to this.
Just a second. I'm getting unsympathetic with you, sir.
Okay.
How much did the ring cost?
$42.95.
How much did you take out a loan on the car for?
I put $1,000 down. I had $1,000 cash in the bank, and I put down $32.95 that I borrowed from the bank.
Do you have the car?
Well, it's, yeah, repossessed or has it in storage.
Okay, so you have the car.
I have the car because when she left the relationship in June, he stopped making payments.
On the car?
On the car.
I understand that, but the car, let's say this and the car are one and the same as far as the money is concerned.
Right.
So if you have the car, he gets to keep the ring. If you have the car...
Well, but there was more too. When she
I don't care
left
what
the
the-
house, he took all the furnishings.
Sit down. I'm not...
and-
Listen to me.
Okay.
Sit down. Listen. Sit down. Give him the ring. You people are playing with each other. You're not going to play with me. Okay, now you have the ring back. Now I get to the counterclaim. You lived in an apartment together.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You say in your counterclaim that you were being sued by the landlord for unpaid rent after you left that he should be responsible for, that you have paid. Can I see that you have paid money to the landlord? Are you on the lease?
Yes.
Good. How much did you pay?
I am making monthly payments.
In what amount?
I owe $100 a month for 12 months.
Because they evicted you, is that right? They evicted you, is that right?
No, ma'am.
That's what the manager said.
I'd already moved out. I mean, when they filed for that deal, I was already moving out. I was in the process of moving out. They were...
When was your lease up, sir?
I'd say probably June or July the lease was up.
Why do you think she should be responsible for this $1,200?
Not the total $1,200. I don't believe she's totally responsible for that. I mean, I feel I'm half responsible just as well as she.
Good, give me the ring back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment and says ex-fiancée Samantha Parisi won't return the engagement ring. Samantha says Derek abused her and cheated on her.
You threw her out of the apartment.
No, I didn't totally throw her out.
Oh, yes, you did. That's what you said. That's what you swore to in your complaint. You said, I broke up with her and told her to leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when you moved into this apartment, who purchased the furniture?
It was mainly my furniture. It's my furniture. I purchased the furniture.
Show me.
There's nothing I can show you. I mean, I've got a list of furniture she's got, that she took. And, I took some and she took some. And
she took some when she left?
Yes.
What did you take when you left?
A bag with about a week's worth of clothing in it and the clothes on my back.
What furniture did she take?
She's got the big screen TV. She's got the kitchen tables.
Just a second.
2 of them.
Did you take the big screen TV when you left?
Yes, I did take the TV.
What else?
DVD player, surround sound.
Was that left?
The DVD player was a gift from my mother for Christmas.
And the TV?
We had purchased that.
What else did you take?
All my daughter's belongings, her toys, everything of that nature.
Well, where was the child living?
The child was living with Linda.
So why shouldn't she take the child's toys?
She come and stayed with me, too. At given times. She took everything.
To me, sir.
Yes.
Why did you leave the TV there when you moved out?
I didn't leave it out. She come over while I was gone and took all this stuff.
Just a second. The day that she came over with the landlord, are you telling me that all the furniture was still in the apartment?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
All of the furniture was still in the apartment?
There was a majority of the furniture in the apartment.
I said, was all the furniture in the apartment?
No, not all of it.
What had you taken out?
I'd taken...
Be careful what you tell me.
I'd taken my bedroom furniture.
So the bedroom furniture was gone. What else?
I believe the couch was gone.
So the living room furniture was gone. What else?
And that's about it. I took the couch, the recliner, and my bedroom furniture.
Who bought the couch?
I did.
Is that right?
The couch I do believe he paid for.
And the bedroom furniture?
My money also.
Is that right?
I've got the receipt here. It is in his name. But I have showing that the purchase was taken out of my personal checking account.
Can I see it?
Also, there's a mattress, a Serta pillow top mattress that my mother had purchased. And I don't have a receipt or anything on that. I have an estimate.
Is that right, sir?
She wrote a check for it, and I gave her the cash money.
Well, where did she get money to put in a checking account?
From me.
Only from you? You were the only one working?
Yes. At this time, she didn't work. She hasn't worked. She didn't work for over a year. I supported her and my daughter. She didn't go to school. She didn't work. She didn't do nothing.
Well, who took care of your daughter?
For a period of about 3 months, her mother was watching our daughter.
And what was she doing?
Nothing.
You mean that your daughter was living with her grandmother?
Yes, and Samantha did absolutely nothing.
Just a minute. Let me understand this. Baby was living with the grandmother.
Yes.
And she was living with you.
Yes.
And you permitted that?
I didn't want that, but at that particular time, my name wasn't on the birth certificate due to the help and coaching of Samantha's mother, Linda. So when Linda gets custody of my daughter, I went down to Oklahoma City and filed and put my name on the birth certificate to seek custody.
I have a question for you. Would you stand up, please? You turned the truck. We're getting back to the truck. You turned the truck into the bank.
Yes.
Do you have anything from the bank indicating that they are going to come against you or Mr. Carnahan for a bulk amount of money? Because I assume that they've sold the truck.
No, it's still in storage, and I do have
storage
the
with
note that when they repossessed it, according to the law, they have to put it in storage for 10 or 15 days and give him the opportunity to pay the balance of the note.
And what's the balance of the note?
$2,600 and some odd dollars.
She gets the ring. Thank you very much. Listen to me. This is how this matter is resolved. Sell the ring. Pay off the car. Got it?
Yes.
Get your name out of anything that has to do with his loan. He may get the car because it's titled in his name. He may get it back. Your obligation is going to be over. Do you understand that, sir? You don't like it? That's too bad. If she sells the ring and gives the bank the money, You should be able to get the car back.
Well, the police have called her and told her they were going to press criminal felony charges if she didn't return the car, and she said...
You should have made the payment, sir. You brought it on by yourself. You're a smart aleck. Should have made the payments, then she wouldn't have had any excuse whatsoever to have the truck repossessed. Clear? Good. I'm not getting into your furniture. It's far too complicated and really very unimportant. You left last summer. If the furniture wasn't so important to you last summer, it shouldn't be important to you this spring. Do you understand? But I don't believe that you should be responsible for rent on the apartment, because he threw you out of the apartment. He told you to leave. On your counterclaim, I'm giving you a judgment of $1,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He made my life miserable, which resulted in using drugs, and I became a codependent.
She was the only one issued a drug rehabilitation, so she's got the drug problem, not me.
He's a liar. My daughter does not even visit him. She's not allowed to see him.
I've got to hire an attorney and seek legal advice and have a paternity test done. You know, it's going to cost me a couple $1,000s, you know.
He went out, he and his friends, and had a sexual encounter with a woman, and then her life really spiraled.
It's obvious her mom coaches her through pretty much everything. I mean, this is, you know, her 6th marriage, so she's pretty in tune on how the legal system works.
He's abusive and he's crazy. He's got major issues.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Noonamaker versus Noonamaker, step forward, please.
Salesman Bruce Noonamaker is suing his son, truck driver Shad Noonamaker, for unpaid credit card charges. Shad claims he's never stopped making payments.
Mr. Noonamaker, this is your son.
Yes.
According to what I read in your complaint, 2 years ago, your son ran into some difficulty with a truck that he owned for business. And the truck broke down, requiring a substantial amount of repairs. You loaned him money to make... Stop playing with your papers. You loaned him the money to make the repairs on your truck through your credit card. There was an agreement that he would pay you back, and he had been making the payments faithfully on your credit card from 2002 until March of 2004. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he stopped making the payments. You want at least part of the balance of what is owed, because the maximum in this court is $5,000. The defendant says that you breached the agreement with you with regard to repayment of this loan, so the loan is null and void. And he'll explain that to me in a moment. When, in 2002, was this loan made?
May 2nd of 2002.
And under what circumstances was it made?
Shad was on a trip. He drives over the road, and during the trip, he was outside of Colorado, about 150 miles outside of Denver, rather, in Grand Junction, Colorado, and he called me and said that his truck, the engine had blown.
What kind of truck did you have, sir?
It's a Freightliner. I have a photo here.
I'd like to see it.
That's the exterior and then, interior.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
He told me on the phone that he was unable to arrange his own financing for the $12,000 engine in his truck, and without that, he was out of work.
Now, tell me, sir, why did you stop making payments? You were making the payments to your father.
Ma'am, I never stopped making payments. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of all of my checks, and I also have a copy of check number 619 for $247.54, which I just called yesterday, and my bank says it has not cleared, which tells me that for some reason or another, Bruce does not want to cash the check.
Did you receive a check that you did not cash, sir?
I cashed it a couple days ago, yes.
So you did cash it?
I did.
Just a few days ago. So what are you doing here?
That was a check for March. At the time of our separation, he was living with me in my home.
I understand that.
And it came to a point where we came to some conflict.
I understand that. And he moved out, and he moved out. You told him to move out, and he was angry. But you've just cashed a check, sir, that he paid for, and he said he's paid for the truck, and he intends to continue to honor the agreement. So what are you doing here?
That's not true.
What's not true?
The truth of the matter is that he sent me a check after we separated on March 19th. Sent me a check for partial payment on the March payment. At the day that we separated, when the papers were served by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, he verbalized that, and prior to that too, that I would never see the rest of that money.
Well, he was speaking out of the top of it, or, you know, he was speaking out of anger because he acknowledges that this is his debt, and he's acknowledged that in open court. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. You understand, Mr. Noonamaker, that if you fail, now that we have an acknowledged debt, it doesn't have to be in writing anymore. It's an acknowledged debt under oath.
With no
So,
stipulations?
listen to me. It's an acknowledged debt under oath. You understand that if you fail to pay this debt, your father has a lien on your truck. Do you understand that? I want you to understand that.
No, I don't know that.
Well, then I am telling you that. Your father has a lien on your truck should you fail to pay it. It's exactly the same thing as if you had a written contract with him, a written loan agreement with him. Do I make myself clear?
Thus far, yes.
Good. I suggest, sir, that you make those payments on
Ma'am.
time every month.
Ma'am?
Yes.
May I add something? It's very important. Before I moved out, I told him that if he breached our agreement, he would not see it. And he said, that's fine. I'll take the loss to get you out of my life.
What are you talking about breach? Tell me.
The agreement was that I would continue to make payments and still live in his house and do my studies.
Well, that's what you wrote in your answer that I didn't believe when I read it in your answer. Are you telling me, sir, that when you called your father from the road in May of 2002 and said, Dad, I blew the engine on my truck and I don't have the finances to fix it. Can you lend me the money? And your father said yes. And what you want me to believe is, and you said to your father, and I will pay you back as long as you are nice to me, watch your temper, let me live in your house and continue my studies. And your father said yes, under those conditions I will... Without speaking! Under those conditions, I will give you the $12,000. Is that what you want me to believe? Get a life.
We did not make an agreement, ma'am.
Listen to me, sir.
We did not discuss an agreement.
Listen to me, sir. I've just advised your son, under oath, your son has acknowledged this loan to you. There were no conditions on the loan. I find that there were no conditions on the loan. I will enter an order that should he miss 2 payments, you have leave to enter a judgment against him in the amount of the balance owed on the truck, and you may enter a lien against that truck in order to execute on it. You can sell it. Do you understand?
I do. What about the 2
months?
Parties are excused. He has issues from his childhood that he's still trying to work through.
The animosity began, I don't know, years and years ago when he developed a chemical imbalance.
Chad left us once before for 3 years. We didn't know if he was alive or dead.
Bruce said that he would let the thing go, and then he sued me 2 days later. Can you understand why I was a little bit confused whether or not I was supposed to be making payments?
I didn't forgive the debt. I said, I'll have to deal with it in whatever fashion I have to go.
If you want to go upward, you have to get away from people that are trying to drag you down.
I hope that there's healing for Chad's spirit and our family.
All parties in the matter of Aon Orozco versus Roseberry. Step forward, please.
Retail worker Rosalina Aon Orozco is suing her ex-boyfriend, Assistant Construction Superintendent Louis Roseberry, for slashing the top of her convertible. Louis denies the charge and claims it was probably one of her other boyfriends.
Mr. Orozco, it is your claim that the defendant, who used to be your boyfriend, slashed the top of your convertible because he was angry with you, I guess, for breaking up with him. And that was when?
August 25th of 02.
Mr. Roseberry says that he didn't cause that damage. Where have you been for the last year and a half?
Back and forth. We broke up, and then we'd get back together, and we'd break up again.
So is what you're telling me, after he slashed your car in August of 2002, you got back together again?
About a month.
About a month later?
A month later.
And how long were you together?
For like 13 months.
And while you were together for the 13 months, what did you do with your convertible top?
Well, he damaged my car August the 25th, so I fixed it a month later, and that's when I got with him.
And you were together after that for 13 months?
Oh, no. For 3 months.
You were back together for 3 months?
After that.
Did he live with you? Or did you live with him?
No.
Well, when you mean you were back...
lived with me.
Shh. What do you mean you were back together again?
We went back together because he promised and that he'd fix my top, that he was sorry, that he had some kind of issues, that he was going to the anger management classes, and that he was going to get help.
Fine. So that didn't work out after 3 months, and you broke up again.
In December, and that was it. I didn't go back. But I was threatened. I mean, he threatened me. If I didn't go back with him, he would...
fantasy.
Mr. Roseberry.
She's on a fantasy.
Mr. Roseberry, are you under the influence of any drug or alcohol at this moment? I'm asking you a question.
No, I'm not.
Then if you're not, try to maintain a certain amount of decorum because you're in a court. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. You can drink later. What I don't understand, Mr. Roscoe, is you had a fight with him. According to you, he damaged your car. You went back together. You went out with him. You slept with him. You shared a bed with him. You shared a life with him for 3 months, 4 months, however long it was. According to you, it was August that he did this. A month later, you went back with him. September, October, November, December. So you're back together for 4 months. So what are you bothering the courts for now?
Well, I want him to pay me because he did the damage to my car, and I had to ask my sister for the money to pay for the car. I mean,
how long ago?
When I got it fixed.
When was that?
September.
Show me.
You know, I'm so sorry, Your Honor. It was of 03.
You gotta get your time straight, Mr. Roscoe.
Hang on 1 second. It was August 24th of 03 when he damaged the car, and then a month later is when I went back with him. And, I mean, I just want him to pay the damage of...
Just a second.
I want him to pay because I seen him do it, and he threatened me. And I broke up with him. We were fighting a night before this incident. We were fighting, arguing from like 7 p.m. to 1 in the morning. I just didn't take his calls anymore. He called me the next day and he said, okay, fine, if you don't want to be friends, fine, just call me, let me know. So I called him and I said, you know what, I don't think that this is healthy. We need to not be together. I don't want to have anything to do with you, not even friends.
Perfect. Then you should have sued him the next day. Did you report him to the police?
The day that he did the damages, yes. There
Let
was
me see the police report. I'd like to see it, please.
I called the police office.
I'd like to see the police report. Don't speak. Just show me the police report.
Your Honor, can I share something, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, this girl is on a good one. She's hallucinating.
Listen to me.
Here hallucinating.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Just stick to her convertible top.
Okay, well, the convertible top I didn't slash. I didn't have nothing to do with that. As far as I know, she had 6 other boyfriends or something that were probably mad at her for the same reason I was mad at her.
Why were you mad at her, sir?
Because she's lying. She just constantly lies.
So what'd you get back together with her for 4 months? Look at me. Look at me. Tell me why.
Because I like to play around.
So you don't care if she's of good moral character or bad moral character or wrapped too tight or whatever?
She has no morals.
And that didn't bother you?
Well, it did. I have a daughter, you know, that I'm raising, and she...
You're raising a child?
Oh, yeah. I am.
You're raising a child?
She's an angel. She's a perfect angel.
You're raising a child yourself?
No, I have help.
Whose help? Who's helping?
The mothers.
You? What?
The mothers.
They're mothers? You mean you have one child who have several mothers?
No. My daughter's mom. And her family and my family.
Do you live with your daughter's mother?
No.
Who does your daughter live with?
We're 50-50 with our child. So she's half with me and half with mom. We don't fight or nothing. That's a different...
That's wonderful. Mr. Roscoe, get to the convertible top, please, and get there fast. You had a fight. You had a fight the day before.
The next day, he called me and said, fine, if you don't want to be friends, fine, just call me and let me know. So I called him and I said, you know what, this relationship's not healthy. You need help, and no, I don't want to be friends. I want to have nothing to do with you. So I don't remember if he hung up on me or he said, I'm on my way. Either way, I called him numerous of times, but he wouldn't answer the phone.
What'd you call him for?
To tell him not to come to my house.
To stalk me.
Just a second. You called him, you told him you didn't want to have anything to do with him.
Exactly.
Well, he sounded sincere.
And he hung up the phone. You already told him not to have anything to do with him. And then, according to you, you kept calling him? I don't understand why you kept calling him.
Because he hung up the phone, and I knew he would show up at the house because he's done it before. He's tried to break in the house.
Love songs on my pager?
He's tried to break in the house before.
I'm not interested in that.
Well, I
don't understand why, if you told me you didn't want to hear from him anymore, you kept calling him on his cell phone.
Because I said, I don't want us to be friends. Nothing. Zero. And then he hung up on me, so I called him because I suspected he was going to show up at the house, and that's exactly what he did. He showed up at the house, he knocked at my window, and he said, come outside, let's talk. And I said, no, I'm not going outside. Please leave. My sister is here. So he kept knocking on the window, and then I said, leave or I'm going to call the cops. And that's when he got really mad, and he said, come outside, I'm going to you up. Excuse me. And I said, no, I'm not. And so I picked up the phone and to call the cops. And I said, you know what, I'm calling the cops, and I'm on the phone with them. And he said, come outside because I'm going to you up and I'm going to your car. So I was on the phone with the police, and I said, my ex-boyfriend's here, and he is outside. He wants to come in the house. Then I looked out the window. No, I looked out the window.
Boyfriends or something.
No.
Blame this one on me.
No, because Your Honor.
What don't you understand? Am I looking at you?
I'm trying to speak mine.
No. I didn't ask you anything.
All right.
I looked out the window, and I seen him. He walked to my car. It was parked in the driveway, and he started slashing my top.
Now I want to go forward again.
This guy has issues.
Okay. Now I want to go forward to when you got back together again.
It's gonna be crying.
Why? Is this another threat? Is this another threat?
Making up stories. All kinds.
Don't
This girl's a
threaten me.
storyteller.
No.
Like, for real. Damn. Storytelling.
Louis, you're lying, so don't come up here and lie.
Your case,
Girl
Mr.
lies like a
Roscoe,
rug.
is dismissed. Because when I tell you that you have the absolute right to come into a court, even if you come in late, to file a case, even after you've condoned, as far as I'm concerned, by living with him, staying with him, sleeping with him, touching him, feeling him, letting him touch you for 4 months, you've condoned this slashing incident after it happens, but you still have the right to come in and tell a story. You do not have the right, as far as I'm concerned, to disrespect this court by treating this court as if it was a talk show. Do I make myself clear? Good. Your case is dismissed. Out.
Parties are excused. Man. Step out.
He promised me that he was going to pay me, and he was crying and pleading that he was going to pay me to not take him to court. And I believed him.
This girl's on something. She's on, I don't know.
I got threatened. He said that he was, he was threatening me.
I think she's wacko.
If I didn't go back with him, then he's going to put me 6 feet under. That's exactly what he said.
She never told me what she was out doing. She would just be like, I'm out and about, come by at 3 in the morning. That's, it makes you wonder.
He's making things up. He has issues. This guy has issues.
I never knew her real age. She never told me in a year and something months.
I'm done. I'm putting this behind.
19-year-old Kaya Eliasov and Brandon Blanchard are suing Brandon's father, William Blanchard, for unpaid wages, property damage, and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Gus. Case number 2028, Eliasov Blanchard versus Blanchard.
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome.
Eliasov?
Yes, ma'am.
That's you. How old are you?
19, almost 20.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I am a server.
Since when?
As of June of this year.
This is your boyfriend?
A fiance, yes, ma'am.
Fiance. And how long has he been your fiance?
For over a year.
What does he do for a living?
He is currently unemployed.
When was the last time he had a job?
That was about a year ago.
What kind of work did he do a year ago?
Warehouse work.
Is there any reason that he hasn't worked in a year?
He has concussions and back injuries. And
from what?
From car accidents.
Does he currently have any lawsuits pending with regard to those accidents?
No, ma'am.
So the accidents were your fault?
No, they were the other people's faults.
The other people had no insurance?
The other person didn't have insurance at the time. So later on, he ended up stating that he did have insurance and got out of the ticket.
Do you see a doctor regularly?
Not anymore, no. I used to, though, until I ran out of my insurance for health insurance. And then the bill just kept stacking up on me.
At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have an attorney with regard to, did you ever consult an attorney with regard to these accidents? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Is there any reason why you're not working?
Yes, ma'am. I have bad back problems that I've had for quite some time. I have 4 discs out in my lower back.
Mm-hmm.
I also have knee injuries, shoulder injuries. I was pushing my body more than I should have been. Mm-hmm. I was over 300 pounds working in a heated environment, working every day. And I dropped all the weight, and then I ended up hurting myself even further from there. And then my doctor told me not to do anything over 20 pounds, so I went against her rules, and I did it anyways, and I kept injuring myself.
What kind of work does your father do?
He works as a U-Haul business associate and mechanic as well.
When did you live with your father?
I lived with my father in January, I believe it was 8th.
January of what year?
Of 2022, sorry.
After you have been disabled all this time because of all the heavy work.
Yes.
Let me give a general outline of what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
You and your fiancée were living where?
We were living with my father.
No, before you lived with your father.
My father.
Her father.
In what state?
Wyoming.
There come a time when your father either said it's enough or you decided that you were no longer happy in Wyoming?
It was a conflict with his girlfriend that came about.
Whatever it was. If it was a conflict with his girlfriend, your father told you to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you called your father.
No, I didn't call my father.
Who did?
My father called me.
You mean just out of the blue?
Yeah, he does it at random
No.
once in a while.
He just called you at about the same time that your fiancé's father told you to get out.
Yes, is what I believe. Anyways, I've had a few concussions, Your Honor, and I don't remember a lot.
Okay, we're going to get there. In any event, you had a discussion with your father that you didn't have a place to live, you didn't have a job, she didn't have a job, you had no money, her father was kicking you out of the house, and he drove cross-country to get you.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month?
It was in January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did he drive to come and get you?
I think 1,000 miles, maybe.
Each way?
Each way, probably about 2,000 total, something like that.
Okay, so he drove 2,000 miles to come and get you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he brought you back to his house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't working.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girlfriend wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you weren't working, the girlfriend wasn't working, you had no money, so your father was taking care of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a host of things, which I'm going to give you a relatively short time to tell me about. But one of the things that your fiancé says is that your father owes you for wages because you worked for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing what?
I was doing U-Haul work, basically.
What is U-Haul work?
Oh, sorry. I'll explain. Sorry, ma'am. Basically, what we do.
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically.
Sorry.
I want to hear what you were doing.
I would hook up U-Hauls. I would also clean and inspect all the vehicles.
Just a second. Hook up the U-Hauls.
Hook up the U-Hauls.
Clean and inspect them.
Clean and inspect them.
What does it involve in cleaning them?
Basically spraying down.
Not basically.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. We spray down all the.
Not we. You.
Yeah. Sorry. I spray down every single surface of the innards of the vehicle. Basically, the steering wheel, the floor plates, the radio, everything.
And when you hook them up, explain how you hook something up.
How I hook something up is just backing up, lining up with axle.
So you'd have to drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving a car and backing up?
Yes, ma'am. And
so you're using a rear view mirror?
Yes.
And yourself? You're looking to see where you're backing up because you have to use both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you hook them. Well, what else did you do for your father?
I also did paperwork for him, doing like inventory stocks and stuff like that.
Terrific.
Basically.
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically. Basically is a filler
Sorry,
word.
ma'am. What else was I doing? I would sweep, clean up his shop. I would do a lot of things.
Okay, all while you were unable to do anything else.
Yes, ma'am. I would.
Just a second.
What were you saying?
After your back issues, after your concussions, after whatever other injuries that you had from working someplace. By the way, you don't have a lawsuit pending against anybody, do you?
No, ma'am.
So it's just a question of fetching, other than maybe trying to collect a disability somewhere along the line from the federal government. You were able to hook up U-Hauls, clean them and sanitize them, sweep out the premises, do paperwork, but you can't work. I mean, because part of the lawsuit is about all this work that you did, but all while you're telling me that you're unemployable because of all the injuries that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okie-dokie. You understand how ridiculous that sounds to me.
Yes.
I only had one other case in my recent memory that sounded anywhere familiar to this story, and that was a man that was also receiving disability because he had a bad back. He was the plaintiff in a lawsuit suing someone because he had built them an outdoor patio deck alone, and he wasn't paid the $6,000 for it. But he had been collecting disability for a back ailment for 31 years from the federal government. That sound odd to you?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it sound odd to you that you're able to put hookups together and sweep and everything else, but you can't say, do you want a hamburger with your fries or fries with a burger?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds peculiar to you. Right. So I don't want to hear about work. Okay, that's the first thing. And you lived in your father's house for how long, by the way?
I think we only lived there for the first month, and then we ended up getting moved out to a camper for like the last bit of the, I think, 2 months that we were there.
I don't know what you're suing for. You want to tell me? I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go.
And later today.
That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100, and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used?
She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you.
"19-year-old Kaya Eliasov and Brandon Blanchard claim Brandon's father, William Blanchard, owes for unpaid wages and stolen property. William is countersuing for moving expenses and property damage.
Now, I'm not entertaining your wages because you can't work. That's what he just swore to. He can't work. That's why he's unemployed. He has 4 disc problems. I think he said 4, whatever. He can't work. Forget him now. I want you to tell me what you're suing this man who drove 2,000 miles to rescue you after your father threw you out. I want you to tell me what you think he owes you for.
For the stolen property of my vehicle.
What stolen property of your vehicle?
He stole my toolbox with the key with it and also parts that went to my vehicle.
Did you take her toolbox?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Next. What's next?
Whenever I confronted him about it.
About what?
About the toolbox when we went to go get my truck, then he would say what he just said, that he never took it. But when I asked him where did the key go for it, he denied he would just ignore that fact.
Well, it's not a fact. It's not a fact unless you can prove that he took your property. You said he just said to you, I don't have your toolbox.
But my vehicle was on his property, in his possession.
Okay, and that's what you have. Your vehicle, while you were living there, was on his property, and therefore he's responsible for the toolbox.
Yes, ma'am. When he kicked us out and then told us to come back for the truck, he was going to give us 2 weeks to have it towed.
Because the truck wasn't working, but he let the truck stay on his property for 2 weeks.
Yes.
What else are you suing him for?
Just for the repairs on the vehicle.
On what vehicle?
On my truck. That whenever I went to go get the truck off his property after that 2 weeks, that's when the toolbox was missing, and I also looked under the hood, and there was wires hanging out, and those wires, I do have pictures.
So just a second. Let me ask you this question. You said, you said he gave you 2 weeks to come and get your truck off his property. The truck was inoperable when you left it on his property. Wasn't running.
No, ma'am.
That's right. You did not come to get it off his property in 2 weeks. You came after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
How much after the 2 weeks?
I think just like a couple days after. We came back on April 23rd and we left the property April 6th.
So it was after the 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get there fast because I'm quickly losing patience with 2 ingrates.
Here's the pictures.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go. Move on. Your father came 2,000 miles to get you. He fed you for a month. He kept a roof over your head for a month. In return, you're suing him for nonsense. Let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a countersuit that actually you wouldn't have brought now because you didn't have an agreement with your son and his fiancée when you went to get him. How many children do you have?
8 altogether.
Prior to going to get him cross country, when had you seen him?
Been several years.
Tell me about the conversation when he contacted you.
He said, Dad, I have no place to go. We can try to stay with her grandmother. I offered, said, I'll come get you if you have no place to go.
And then?
Within a week, I dropped everything to go get him.
Now, when your son and his fiancée came to you, sir, did you put him to work in your business?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was he in your business?
Altogether, maybe less than 90 days.
Did he work in your business after they moved out of your house? He says they only lived in your house for 30 days.
They were in the house 45 days, and then they were left another 45 days inside of a camper.
Can you tell me why they moved into a camper?
There was a chance of my daughter coming home, and they were living in her room at the time. And so I wanted to make sure they still had something, so I put them into a camper.
Camper on your property?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of camper?
Small camper.
So they used the inside of the house to shower and
yes, Your Honor.
Stuff, but they slept in the camper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All true?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid for the camper. He paid for the electricity, water, etc. when you were now. She wasn't working. Did he also pay for the food? Did you eat in the house or did you eat in the camper?
No, ma'am. We were getting food stamps. So we paid for our own food, and we also helped them with their food as well.
Why were you getting food stamps?
For the short bit of time, because he recommended to get on food stamps.
Had you been on food stamps when you lived in Wyoming?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how did you support yourself there?
I was working at the time.
And what about him?
A driving company, basically, we go around, pick up food from places and
So
deliver.
you were able to drive?
Yes.
Oh.
For only a little bit.
With all those injuries. Amazing. Okay. I would like you to testify, sir, now to the conversation that you had with your son with regard to compensation for coming to pick him up in Wyoming. Be very careful what you say to me.
I told my son before I picked him up, I said, you need to pay me back for this trip.
Did you tell him what for the trip? I mean,
Yes,
your
for all
time?
expenses. All expenses for the trip.
For the expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was he supposed to do that? He wasn't working.
He was supposed to get a nighttime job on top of working, helping me out around my shop.
Did he help you around your shop?
He
You
did.
said about 90 days. Did you pay him?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if he worked for you for 90 days and you didn't pay him at all, and it cost you a couple of $1,000s, according to you,
Yes, Your Honor.
to go out and get him, hire trucks, spend time back, whatever it was, and he worked for you for 90 days without compensation, why do you think he did that?
I was hoping just because that's what he really wanted to do.
No good deed goes unpunished. You went and you got him, and now they're suing you, but their case is dismissed. They have no case against you. It's all a bunch of nonsense and ridiculous. But likewise, sir, your counterclaim is for the expenses that you incurred in going to pick them up. I don't actually think that there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, but even if there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, the fact that he worked for 90 days without any compensation, I think, more than compensates you for that. As a result of that, your counterclaim as well is dismissed. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You try to do your best for your kids whenever you can. This is no different.
It's been very difficult growing up.
I hope he gets his life together.
I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll always be there for him.
It's time to cut the strings. I'm done with him.
That young man sounded as if he was intelligent. That doesn't mean he was smart. That means he was intelligent. Because at age 19 or 20, to have already figured out that you can't work because you have a bad back unless you really have to work. If you really have to work, then you can work for your father. That's a bad mindset for a very young person. That means that your life is really going nowhere. You're not preparing yourself to do anything.
And to take it a step further and to sue the only person that was there for you in a time when you needed them.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Miss Shara Garrett is suing her former friend, Michael Codia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, for a personal loan, car damages, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2056, Garrett versus Codio scenario.
Thank you. Miss Garrett, this gentleman, Michael Codia, is that
correct?
Codia?
Yes.
You and Mr. Codia have been lifelong friends, according
Yes.
to what I read in the complaint. Lifelong, you're both very young. How do you know him?
Well, we used to ride bikes together. His mom used to also braid my hair when I was a child every Sunday.
But you and Mr. Codia were never involved in any relationship other than just friendship.
No.
And Mr. Codia, Miss Serrano is currently your girlfriend.
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
She had been your girlfriend and been living with you for a while, and you have a child together.
Yes, correct. Well, she's currently pregnant. We're expecting, they're expecting.
Great. You had a fight. Yes. With Miss Serrano. And that was around June of this year.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was a substantial enough fight that Miss Serrano left the home. And she left the home with your child. And how old is your child?
As I was saying, we are expecting.
So you don't have a child together?
She's 6 months pregnant, though, currently.
Okay. So you're just living, and she left.
Correct.
At about the same time, Miss Garrett, your friend, needed a place to stay.
I wouldn't say needed a place to stay, but
What would you say?
it was more like I kind of had a clue, like she had a place to stay, but it was just one of those situations.
No, look over here. Look over here. Okay.
Sorry.
Now, Mr. Codia, I want you to understand there are very few stories that are new under the sun. I want you to really understand that. I have children. I have grown grandchildren, boys and girls. I've seen all the movies that I want to see about romance and guys. So your girlfriend leaves you.
Yes.
Yes. And would it be fair to say that you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay with you?
Yes, it would be fair.
Had you ever invited her to come and stay with you before?
No, I have not. Not in the current apartment that I'm staying in right now, no.
Had you in another apartment?
No.
So the answer is you had never invited your friend to come and stay with you before?
No.
Interesting. So on June 27th, she left. On what date did you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay in your apartment?
June 16th.
June 16th?
Yes.
So 11 days before Miss Serrano left?
Miss Serrano left about a week prior to her coming.
What date did you leave, Miss Serrano? Do you recall?
I don't recall. I recall it was the end of, or mid-June of this year, I would say. I had personal things going on, so I really wasn't, Now,
Miss Serrano, I'm going to ask you why you left.
We had a falling out. Me and Michael had a falling out.
Yes. What did you and Michael have a falling out about?
Well, at the time, my mother was in the hospital, so that it was a disagreement surrounding having to move back home and take care of her in the household.
And
that was pretty much it.
Well, what did he say? He said he didn't want you to, and you...
Yeah, he pretty much, long story short, didn't want me to move back to my mother's house, so that caused,
Okay, so he wanted you to stay?
Yes. Yes, he wanted me to stay, but,
He wanted you to stay. Now, did you know that the two of you were expecting at that time in June?
Yes.
So he knew that you were expecting a baby, that you wanted to go back to your mother's house because she was ill and you wanted to help take care of her. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And despite the fact that he said, don't go, you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it would be fair to say that he was annoyed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting this whole picture now. It's so easy. Okay. And about a week later, he invites this attractive young lady who's been a friend of his for a long time, a non-romantic friend, to move into the apartment.
Yes.
You know that was nasty, right?
Oh, no, yes, I know.
You know that was nasty.
That was an agreement between them.
No.
And,
But you know that was a sort of a nasty thing to do.
Oh, no, I'm fully aware. Yes,
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to know what you're sort of dealing with.
Yes, I'm fully aware of what I'm dealing with. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so, Mr. Codia, in order to sort of get even a little bit, you invite Miss Garrett to come and move in, no rent or anything, because you didn't have an agreement to pay rent. You weren't going to pay rent or anything, and you moved in. And you moved in on?
I moved in on the 1st.
On the 1st of?
July.
July 1st. Now, Miss Serrano, I'm going to come back to you because this is such a fascinating story.
Oh,
such a fascinating story. And he deserves to get dumped on a little bit.
Oh, there's more where that came from, yes. I said that's more where that came from, yes.
Okay, and between the time you left and July 1st, when Miss Garrett was invited to come to stay at the house, were you in communication with Mr. Codia?
Yes, I would say like every day or every other day. We spoke, arguments, you know how it is.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're pregnant and you have emotions, and then you're taking care of family members and whatever. And so I got it. Did he tell you that Miss Garrett was moving in?
Yes.
When?
I would say I found out around like the 27th, 28th.
Of June?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that she was moving in.
I believe at that point she was already moved in at that point.
Okay. And what made you think that?
Just based off of how the conversation went or how he told me.
Tell me what he told you.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance on him.
Not getting on the food.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper too, wow.
I'm waiting for it to come over here.
Yes.
Nashira Garrett claims her former friend, Michael Codia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, owe for a personal loan and an assault.
Tell me what he told you. I'm curious. I want to know.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean. That's what I was told.
Okay, did he tell you who?
Who it was. I never met her.
But he told you who it was?
Yes, he told me who it was.
And that made you, I would probably guess, a little annoyed and unhappy.
I mean, I was annoyed.
I would be annoyed.
I mean, I was annoyed because I had personal things going on, but in between that time before actually realizing that she was living at my apartment, I actually had a brief interaction with her. I met her at a park. I met her. So
between the time you moved out?
Yes.
Okay. Was it you met because you contacted each other, or
No,
you met by accident?
We met because me and Michael just, had a conversation to have had at that point in time. I'm assuming she was there in the area, so he just wanted to kill two birds with one stone. He said, do you want to meet the person, who's there, who I'm living with, and that's how it went.
And was it a cordial meeting?
Yes, it was.
You met her, she met you?
Yes.
And he said, I just want you to meet the lovely-looking girl that I'm now living with because you went home to take care of your mother.
I guess so, if you want to put it...
Yes, he...
Don't forget.
This is what your case is about. First, you claim that you loaned Mr. Kodia $750 for rent.
Yes.
And you did that because he said once Miss Serrano moved out, she wasn't paying her rent. He was short on rent. That's what I read here. Mr. Kodia has a whole different story. He said while he told you that he was a little short on rent and he was going to have to get a third job.
That's not true.
Just a second. You jumped in and offered to give him $750. That's what you wrote here. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, Mr. Kodia, did you tell Miss Serrano that somebody was moving into the apartment just to cook and clean? That's what she says.
Yes, that's exactly my words. Exactly my words, yeah.
That's exactly what you told her.
Correct.
You didn't tell Miss Serrano, the soon-to-be mother of your child, that you had a roommate who was paying rent.
I did not.
Miss Serrano, what kind of work were you doing when you were living together in June?
I had a work-from-home position, will still currently do as a Medicaid specialist.
Were you sharing rent with him?
Yes. Everything was 50-50.
Did you pay him any rent in July?
No, I did not.
Did you pay him rent in June?
Yes.
So you paid him the $750. That was your share of the rent? Is that what your share was?
That was my share of the rent. June was already paid for. July I did not pay because I did not believe I was going to be there.
Okay. Tell me what he said to you that caused you to give him this $750.
Well, he texted me one morning and said that Brianna was no longer going to pay her half of the rent as of July, and that if he could...
You were living there already?
Yes, and if I give him $750, he would give it back to me. And we never discussed anything about me cooking or cleaning. I actually brought groceries, which he said that he would pay me back for, too, while I'm staying there.
Okay, so you were actually there for 5 days, is that right?
About 5 days.
5-6 days. And at some point around the first week in July, July 5th, 6th, or 7th, you came to the apartment.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We had went inside the apartment.
Who's we?
Michael and I, sorry. Michael
so
and
you
I
were
went...
so you weren't staying there. Where had you met him?
We actually met at work. We've been together for a year and a half.
I understand that. Yeah. But you came home to the apartment together, and that was, I think, on the 7th of July.
Yes.
On the 7th of July. Where had you been? You'd been out. You hadn't been staying in the apartment.
Oh, no, yeah. I was out actually just going to rosaries and stuff like that. I actually went to go pick him up after a family function from work. After picking him up from work, we went back to the apartment, went upstairs.
Was that the first time you had been back to the apartment?
No.
Since you left?
Since I left, I've been there on and off. Like, not on and off, but like every other couple days. But I've been there, not living there, but I've been there spending the night and,
Have you ever, when you were there, have you seen Miss Garrett?
Nope, but I've seen her belongings, though.
Okay. But you knew she was there because he told you that she was there.
Exactly.
So on the 7th, you picked him up, you went back to the apartment, and you'd been there before, but you had never actually physically seen her in the apartment.
Correct.
Despite the fact that you knew she was there.
Correct.
Because you'd been introduced to her.
Correct.
Okay. And what happened?
So we went upstairs. She seen that I was with him, and I guess that must have made her mad.
No, just tell me what happened.
So there was an argument.
Tell me what the argument was.
I don't even know what the argument was, honestly. She just seen me, and then there was an argument that unfolded about what I still don't know still to this day.
Okay, so now Miss Garrett, they came home, and?
Okay, so them two never came in the apartment together at all that night, and previously.
No, just tell me that night.
Oh, that night. So me and Michael discussed that, hey, listen, things are not working out. He has had multiple people in and out his house, and he was making me very uncomfortable, as well as Miss Serrano popping up.
So what do you say? He's had multiple people in the house?
Guys, women every night. I would sleep in the park. One night I slept in the park because he had Miss Serrano popping up at 3 o'clock in the morning, her throwing my things around, telling me to get out the house, So I had to go in my car and go sleep in the park. And we had conversations that night when it happened, when she popped up. Hey, can I go sleep?
What date was that?
It was, I want to say July the 2nd or the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the 7th.
Right.
Okay. And that's when you went out and slept in the park?
Yes.
Just a second. Mr. Cody, you remember that evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And that evening on July 2nd or 3rd, Ms. Serrano was around, and they don't get along.
They do not.
Which is exactly what you anticipated. Of
course.
When you invited her to stay with you.
Sadly.
Absolutely right. Going to have two women fight over the prize, the grand prize. Okay. Did you take $750 from her?
No, I
did.
Not.
Did you? I didn't ask you with a loan.
Yes,
I didn't ask you. She has proof that she gave it to you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's not play. Did you take $750 from her?
I did.
So it goes back to her. That's $750. Now we're going to get to what she alleges is the remainder of her lawsuit, which is damages for assault. Okay. On the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes.
You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is he invites someone, a woman, to come into the house because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that.
Nashera Garrett has accused her former friend, Michael Codia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, of damaging her car and assaulting her.
Now, on the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes. So that evening, I went into the house, and he had his witness, Darius, there. And
this person?
Yes. And me and Michael had conversations about him before, and I just thought it wasn't a good influence. So that evening, I walk in the house, and I'm sorry, let me back that up. I asked Michael if he's gonna have men come in the house, could he please be there while I'm there with them? Because I didn't feel comfortable. He said yes. So when I walked in that evening and saw Darius there, I texted Michael and said, Michael, we need to have another talk, because every talk we have, I'm thinking that we're having understandings, but we're not. So, and Darius set up a whole twin-sized bed up in the living room, So I went out to my car. I said, Michael, when you get home, I'm in my car, so meet me in my car when you get off. It was around 8:30 when Michael had came, and I was sitting in my car. Me and Michael were talking. And
was he in your car with you?
No. He was outside of my driver's side. So that's when Miss Brianna came, and she started hitting him upside his head. And I tried to get out of the spot that I was in. And next thing I know, my window's down, and she comes and she's attacking me, punching me in my face. She keyed up my car. When she first came up to my window, she keyed my car. Yeah, I can show you.
What? Okay, did you file a police report?
I didn't.
Why?
I just didn't. I took care of my bruises and my scar. I did call 911, but then I hung up. I just didn't. And
okay. Do you have photographs of your injury?
Yes. There you go.
So what you're telling me is that this was a scratch across your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scratch that was caused by Miss Serrano.
Yes.
And that was in July.
Yes.
Ms. Serrano, I'd like to hear your version of what happened on the 7th of July.
Like I said before, there was just an argument that took place.
That wasn't. I want you to start the argument from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. She's outside in her car. Mm-hmm. Michael is talking to her at the car.
Oh yeah.
Did you drive over there or did you walk? How did you get there?
I parked my car like in front of the house because they were on the side street. So I walked.
So you walked there?
Exactly.
Parked the car. Now let me ask you a couple of questions, Ms. Serrano. Yeah. Did Mr. Codia ever give you an indication that Miss Garrett was no longer going to be living there?
Not that I could recall, no.
Well, I want you to try to recall.
I was told after that whole they went the day after that. The conversation was going to be for her to leave the house.
Okay, and what were you coming over for? What brought you over there at 8 o'clock at night?
For him.
What do you mean for him?
Well, he left something in my car. He left a charger or something. It was something he left in my car that I was returning back to him.
Did you tell him you were coming over?
Nope. I just popped up.
The answer is no.
No.
You were curious.
Yes, I was. Of course I was.
There you were.
There you go. I'm sorry.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance
Crazy.
on him.
Not getting on me too.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper too? Wow.
I'm waiting for it to
waiting.
come over here. Did you seek medical treatment?
I did not.
Mr. Cody, I'm going to wrap up this case because I really understand it. I believe I understand it. What I don't understand is why, and this doesn't require an answer, it's sort of a rhetorical question, why you would want to take someone who had been a lifelong friend and someone with whom you are having a child and put either one or both of them in a situation, they don't know each other really, so they don't know whether to like each other or whether not to like each other. I mean, I assume that at this point you would, at least Miss Serrano was planning a long-term relationship with you, and she's having a child, and I assume she thinks you're going to be there to be supportive of the child. Maybe. You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have another son.
Okay, how old?
5 years old, 5.
And he lives with his mother?
Yes, he does.
So you see.
Yes. There you go.
This one's a pesky one. I'm usually good at it. I missed it before. I don't know why you would put them in a situation where they would dislike each other all to satisfy your ego.
Wow.
Oh, that's exactly what you did. You put them in a position where two apparently nice ladies, both of whom care about you in different ways, you put them, well, do you care about him?
Yes.
You think she cares about him?
I've never, the entire time I was with
They
him,
just know each other for a long time.
It was way before me, so I guess if you would have put it like that.
And they also went to senior prom together.
Just a second.
Wow, like
I didn't ask you.
I'm
listen
sorry,
to me.
Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. This is not a shout out. What I'm telling you is it goes to his character. He knows her for a long time. They never had a romantic relationship. With you, he's had a romantic relationship. You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is he invites a woman to come into the house, lets you know about it, because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that. That doesn't make him a good guy. So I want you to think about that. But I absolutely believe that you caused a scratch on her, which you can't do. Anyway, Mr. Cody, you owe her $750. And Miss Serrano, you can't put your hands on anybody, no matter how angry you are at them. And I'm awarding her $1,000 for you putting your hands on her. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I was very satisfied.
I mean, I know it would cause havoc, but
Different women every night,
I try to keep it in secret.
and that's why we stopped being friends before, but I definitely learned my lesson.
I feel like it's unfortunate. I feel like she manipulated the whole situation.
The friendship is over.
I'm gonna be a father to my child, man.
After working with you now for almost a year, I'm starting to get so jaded from these cases that I'm starting to think that just staying single might be my best option if these are the alternatives. Yeah. It just blows my mind. He admitted to just pitting an old friend and your fiance, who's pregnant with your child, against each other.
To satisfy your ego.
Yes. Sounds like a terrible idea, was a terrible idea, turned out to be a terrible idea, and it'll land you in court on occasion.
You're right, but rethink that staying single part.
Think about
Gordon is suing her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, for the balance of a wedding contract.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2030, Gordon versus Jackson Smith.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gordon, you're a wedding planner.
Yes.
You called her to plan a wedding that you were having in Las Vegas.
Yes.
It's your husband?
Yes.
The wedding was scheduled for what date?
April 30th of 22.
Your lawsuit against the defendants is for the balance of a fee that you say is due and owing to you. Ms. Jackson and Mr. Smith are counterclaiming for a whole bunch of things. They said that not only didn't they get everything that they paid for, that you selected the venue, and they were ejected from the venue because they weren't allowed to have a wedding there or serve liquor. So what was your fee that You quoted the defendants, and how much of that fee did they pay?
My fee for planning the wedding was $4,000.
And that $4,000, was that fee reduced to a contract?
Yes, it was.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Ms. Jackson, this your first wedding?
Yes.
And yours?
Yes.
Okay, your total fee was $4,000 and a deposit of $2,000. Did they give you a deposit?
Yes.
Okay, so they signed an agreement to pay you $4,000. How much did they pay you in total?
In total, for our planning fee, they paid
No, in total, how much did they pay your company?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Correct. So how our company is set up is we're set up as an affordable payment plan for a wedding. So we set up our clients on a payment plan. So they also pay the expenses of all of their wedding through us.
So you have to send them an invoice for what it was that you spent for the vendors.
Correct.
Okay.
And then also the default of that contract states that if they miss payments, they have breached the contract.
That's why we're here. Each of you is accusing the other of breaching this agreement. You say that they didn't finish paying you what they owed you, and they say you didn't furnish the services to them that they signed up for the wedding. They gave you $2,000, and the wedding was supposed to be held where?
The banquet hall.
Did you send them a deposit?
No, because at that time she had not paid enough money.
Just a second. The answer is no. You had not sent them a deposit.
No.
Had they sent you the deposit of $2,000?
They sent me the deposit for our planning fee, yes.
I'm talking about for your planning fee, $2,000.
Yes.
And how much was the deposit for?
50% of $16,000, which was $8,000.
And where is the invoice for that you sent them?
I don't have that invoice because she was not able to secure the venue.
I read it. And from what I read in your complaint, the original venue that you secured, according to you, was rendered unavailable because of a broken pipe.
That was the second venue. We went through 3 venues. The first venue, she lost that venue because she could not keep up with the payments and did not submit money for a deposit. The second venue was the R&R Event Center. That venue she lost because a pipe broke in the venue.
Okay, just a second. R&R
Event Center.
And when was that taken?
That was booked on March 11, 2022. And I do have the invoice for that.
And how much was it?
$2,250.
Okay, that's much better than $8,000. Okay. Did she put in a deposit?
Deposit was made from the monthly payments that she makes towards her wedding.
Show me invoices that you sent her every month.
Yes, I have that.
Well, I'd like to see them.
This is the statement of the account. It lists all the invoices that she was sent on a monthly basis.
So she paid you the $20,000 that was invoiced.
Her wedding cost a total of $23,600.
No, that's not what I said. Opening balance was $0. Invoice $20,451.57. Paid $19,356.57. That's what this says. Uncross your arms.
Correct. No, that's
okay.
That's
so
correct.
She paid for everything. Now.
No, she didn't pay for everything because, as I just stated, her wedding cost a total of $23,651.
No. Let's go back to, because I see that we're not getting anywhere. Before her wedding, before anything happened, before she said, I do, and before he says, I take you, she paid practically $20,000, which was your original estimate and her budget for the wedding. There's a second. That's either a yes or a no. Before the wedding, your original budget that you were given by the defendant, I read the papers, was $20,000.
So, and as
that's either a yes, I read the papers, or a no.
Yes, that's the budget she stated she would like to stay around. But however, in planning a wedding, you cannot give an exact of how it's going to cost.
I didn't say that. I didn't, Madam, pay careful attention to me. I've made 16 weddings. I've had 16 event planners. I know exactly how it works, and I know exactly that you can't always predict to the $100 or $50 or sometimes $500 how much more the wedding is going to cost. It never costs less. That's not what I said to you. I said by the time the wedding took place, she had paid the vast majority of the original amount that she said she wanted to spend for the wedding. And that is accurate. Correct. She said she wanted to spend $20,000. She gave you over $19,000. Did that include your fee?
No, it didn't.
Just a second. So the answer is no. That's what you wanted to spend, exclusive of your fee.
Correct.
Now, of your fee, she gave you an initial deposit, or they did, of $2,000.
So
that's either a yes or a no. She gave you $2,000. Did she ever pay you the other $2,000 for the fee? And the rest of the expenses that you want are the additional expenses over and above the $20,000 that, stop shaking your head, over and above what she originally said she wanted to spend.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to get to what happened just about a week before the wedding.
Okay.
You had booked a place. She had paid for the place, $2,250.
Yes.
And that was at R&R. According to you, something happened at R&R. Stop shaking your head. It's annoying. Something happened at R&R. What happened at R&R and when?
Correct. The wedding was scheduled to happen on April 30th.
Tell me what happened at R&R.
I was informed by Rico, the owner, sitting on that side, that a pipe had busted and the venue would no longer be available for usage on her wedding date.
And on what date was that?
It was around the week before her wedding, or 2 weeks before her wedding, sorry.
Date?
I don't have the exact date.
You own, manage, or what, this R&R?
I'm the owner of R&R Events Center.
Okay, tell me your last name, sir.
Cox, C-O-X.
Do you remember having a conversation with the plaintiff about the venue?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember when it was?
March 25th of 2022.
Can you tell me what you said to her and what she said to you?
We had a conversation. I'm like, hey, problem with my venue. I had a pipe that busted. I won't be able to host their wedding. Well, the reception, I should say. So I informed her I can put her in contact with other venues that I may know, or I could send her back the deposit. She asked for the deposit back. I sent the deposit back probably within the hour.
How much was the deposit? $2,250?
No, ma'am.
How much was it?
$1,125, which was half.
So 50%?
Yes, ma'am.
So you sent her back the deposit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive the deposit, Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I did.
The wedding wasn't until April 30th. So you had plenty of time. Well, not plenty of time. You had time to look for a new venue, or else they were going to have to change the date.
Correct, and they found
Just shh. What venue, you can sit down, Mr. Cox, thank you very much. What venue did you select? And had you ever used them before?
No, I had not. I never worked with a challenge budget like this for a venue.
If you don't like the budget, don't take the gig.
Yeah, I won't.
And that's where the reception was held. But that venue was not allowed to have this kind of party.
I was not aware of that until the day of the wedding.
That's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their problem. They hired you as an event planner.
They did, and they got a
wedding.
The wedding went the entire time. The wedding was not closed until after the wedding had already ended. So they used the venue regardless.
Okay. Miss Gordon, it's your job as the event planner, which is what I don't understand you being here. It's your job as the event planner. They don't live in Las Vegas. That's your job to ensure that the place that you select is a venue that's capable of performing the duties that you outlined in your contract, which means they serve food, they're allowed to serve liquor, they're allowed to dance, they're allowed to host an event of how many people?
It was supposed to be 120, but all of my guests didn't get their invitation. So
okay, so over 100 people.
Your Honor, it wasn't that they were not allowed to have the wedding there. They were allowed to have the wedding there. What they were not allowed to do was the business was not allowed to operate after a certain time, and that is what the business owner produced to us.
Just a second. You want to show me a contract that she signed with that business owner? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I would like to see the contract that you signed with this business owner. Sarah, just for my own information, would you look up this venue, please? Tell me what you find.
Sure.
Ms. Gordon, this space was a little less money than the previous space that you had selected.
Correct.
$500, $700?
Yes, and that's because they were not providing all of the things that the original event place was providing.
Was this event space that you booked at the end of the evening, I don't want to use the word raided, closed by the police? That's either a yes. Did the police arrive at this venue?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And what time did the police arrive at the venue?
They arrived at 9:30.
Is there a police report that anyone has?
No.
And how many parties have you done where police arrived at the end of an evening or during the course of an evening in the 2 years that you've been in Las Vegas?
Never.
And the police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why.
Wedding planner Tara Gordon claims her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, owe for the balance of their wedding. Beatrice and Nicholas are countersuing for breach of contract.
Okay, police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why. They initially had a report because
I don't know that. If you can show it to me,
I don't have.
I'd be more than happy to look at it. The police showed up.
May I bring my witness up, please?
For what reason?
Because she can attest to the altercation that took place prior, which is why we were even brought up on the radar, because the other businesses in the vicinity of where the business takes place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she refused to sign the agreed upon payment plan to continue payments after the wedding.
You understand that I'm not particularly sympathetic.
I'm not.
I'm letting you know I'm not particularly sympathetic for the following reason.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody plans a wedding and has a budget of $20,000 plus your fee. So that's, say, $25,000 that they either put together or are saving up for a wedding, first for each. A week before the wedding, something happens with the venue, where the wedding could not be held at the venue of their choice. They're relying on an out-of-state wedding planner, that's you, to find a legitimate venue that is licensed to have an event. When they get to Las Vegas on the date of the wedding, you present them with a new contract.
No, that is not true.
When did you
have it incorrect.
Just a second. When did you give them? Because you said that the problem, which caused the police to come. Just a second. I don't understand.
Before I selected the very last venue, she was on FaceTime with me, looking at the venue with me, because I informed her I've never worked with this venue. I don't know anything about the venue. I told her that the best thing for her is to postpone her wedding. She was already behind in payments. This is her third venue.
Just a second, she paid you almost the entire $20,000.
She paid it in March. In March.
Doesn't matter. She paid you almost the entire
30 days before her wedding. That's what you're not hearing.
I'm not looking at you. Before her wedding, she paid you almost the entire amount of the $20,000 that she originally gave you as a budget before the wedding.
If you look at the contract, it says that you're going to make monthly payments so that we can adequately plan your wedding. You booked me back in 2021, almost a year before your wedding. The wedding was to be planned over the course of that year. The initial venue that I have worked with that I know is reputable, she ended up not paying the deposit on time, so they had to move forward with another date. After that, I didn't get any payments from her until March when she got her tax return. And then at that time, I was forced with less than 60 days to try to find another venue, in which I did, which was our event space. And then a pipe busted in that event space. And then I was forced to find another venue for her. I told her back in January, the top of the year, you need to postpone your wedding. Before invitations went out, before of all of that, when she was having troubles with her payment plan, I advised her as a professional, I think you should postpone your wedding date.
You may talk a lot, but the bottom line is you're the expert. Uncross your arms. You're the expert. You're trying to talk over me? You're trying to talk over me?
No, I'm not.
Good. So you're the expert. She's out of town. The reason that she selects a wedding planner in Las Vegas is because you're supposed to know whether or not the venue that you recommend is able to take care of the party you book. You may say to her, you may say to her, I don't know anything about the venue, but that's your job. You're supposed to know about the venue.
When I told her in the first place that she needed to postpone her wedding, that was my professional advice.
No, that's not what she hired you for, to tell you to postpone her wedding. She hired you to plan her wedding, not to give her advice whether or not. You're trying to talk over me. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You have to understand there are certain things that you did. Okay. You got out the invitations. That's a great thing. I assume you got a DJ. That's great. All of those things. The wedding itself, to me, was problematic. If my wedding ended with the police coming to the venue, and it turned out that the venue was one where you weren't allowed to have that kind of an event, I would be annoyed at the wedding.
They were allowed to have a wedding.
No, they weren't. The police officer.
The contract clearly states that.
I don't care what it states.
That's not what the police officer said.
And you know, because you have a police
I don't
report,
care what
you
it
spoke to them? No,
I don't
you were
care what it
escorted out.
states. You started to tell me before that the reason the police came there is because there was an altercation about you giving her another contract on that date, and there were words outside, and people were complaining, other people who were in the area.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
The night before her wedding, I explained to her.
I want to know what's happened on the date of the wedding. Just a second.
Can you let me finish so I can articulate?
I want you to go because I have a limited amount of time and I'm getting very old. I thought what you said to me, and you're going to read this back, is that the reason the police were drawn to the venue is because of the arguments outside.
Correct.
Let's read that
That's
back.
what I just said.
That was on the date of the wedding.
Correct.
You got married, and you're happy, and you had people at the wedding.
Got a free wedding.
And you
$20,000.
You're almost done. Do you understand? You're almost finished. Go ahead.
We were brought up on the radar because the other businesses in the vicinity where the event took place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she didn't agree to sign the payment plan.
Okay. So the reason that you said, let's go back, that the police came to the venue and then shut it down because it wasn't allowed to be used for what it was used for was because there were altercations about this second contract.
No, that's not the contract we were having an altercation about. That's what I'm trying to
Oh,
explain
just a second. On the day of the wedding, Miss Gordon, did you present her with a new contract to sign? That's either a yes or a no.
I did, but not for the venue. That's
it's not for the venue. I didn't say it was for the venue.
Yes.
On the day of her wedding, did you present her with a new contract? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You said you had discussed that with her the night before?
Correct.
And uncross.
Oh, sorry.
And the night before, did she agree to sign?
Yes, she
Just a
did.
second. A new contract?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And the new contract provided for what?
The new contract that she was supposed to sign
provided for what?
Provided for the remainder balance of the $23,681 that her wedding actually cost. Because she had only paid $19,000. You have the sheet, so I don't have the exact number.
$19,356.57.
Correct. So since she had only paid that amount and the total expenses for her wedding were $23,681. So the night before she agreed to make a payment plan with me to extend her payments beyond her wedding date to pay off this remaining balance.
And is that what she agreed to on the phone? Is that what you're saying to me?
Correct.
She agreed with
She
you
agreed
on... She agreed on the phone to pay you the additional $3,500 or $4,000, and she agreed to pay it over time.
Correct.
And that was Friday night.
Correct.
And then she got to the wedding.
Correct.
And at what point did you present her with the new contract? At what point in the event?
Upon her arrival to the reception venue.
Now, what happened when you got to the reception venue? You'd already gotten through the ceremony, so you're already married. What time did you get to reception?
So the reception was supposed to start at 5. It was supposed to start at 5, but when we got there, she wasn't even done decorating. All of my family stayed outside for another hour, including my grandmother, my grandpa. We waited in cars. Okay.
I said it was supposed to start at 5.
At 5.
This venue that I have here someplace, you have it?
I think it was supposed to start at 5:30 and end at 10:30 per the contract.
Okay. Thank you. Was it supposed to start at 5:30?
Yes.
What happened at 5:30, Miss Gordon?
I presented her with the contract, and then she refused to sign it. Her guests were waiting outside because she was refusing to sign it. When she refused to sign it, because our agreement was she was going to sign the agreement before we started the reception. When she said that she did not want to start the reception, I responded and I said, we will pack all of this up and my staff and I will leave because now we're not being paid for our services.
What time did the police arrive? I'm telling you, I would be furious if I spent $20,000 for a wedding and my evening ended by the police having my guests leave. Furious.
Wedding planner Tara Gordon has accused her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, of refusing to pay the remaining wedding balance. Beatrice and Nicholas claim Tara booked an illegal venue for their reception.
So, what time did the police arrive?
The police arrived at 9:30.
And did the police tell everyone to leave?
Yes, they did.
And told everyone that they had to leave?
They arrived and they told me that everyone had to leave.
Whether they told you or whether
Yes.
they told them.
Yes.
They said the place had to be clear.
Correct.
And that was an hour before the termination of the event.
So at the end, the event was...
The event was supposed to end at 10:30. Police arrived at 9:30. That's according to you. That's an hour short of the event time she was supposed to have at the venue.
No, the event was supposed to end at 9:30. This is her timeline of events that was supposed to take place.
This is the contract.
That's the time that I have the venue too. I have to clean up. The agreed upon timeline is here. The wedding was supposed to end at 9:30, giving me an hour to clean up.
I'll take a look at what you have. I'm just telling you that this is the signed contract.
That's signed between me and the venue because they were giving me an extra hour to clean up.
That doesn't say that in here.
Because I booked it for a timeline. I booked it from 5:30 to 10:30. I outline everything that takes place. It ended at the last song of the night was at 9:30. And she went through the last song. We made it through the last song of the night on time.
Could I take a look at that?
I just can't wait till it's my turn.
Well, the last song of the night was supposed to start at 9:30.
Yes, and it started earlier because we made it through and she was done dancing. And by the time the police came, it was just mingling and dancing going on. So she had made it through her entire wedding reception is what I'm trying to state.
Yes, Mr. Cox.
Please.
Hey, Your Honor, I'm back. That's not true. The police actually came at 9 o'clock and...
Were you there?
I was the DJ.
You were the DJ?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
That didn't get paid.
Don't.
Oh, he got
don't.
paid. He got paid.
Speak. So the police arrived at 9 o'clock.
That's correct.
And what happened when they arrived, Mr. Cox?
So
By the way, did you know them before the wedding?
No, ma'am.
Did you know her before the wedding?
Just conversation that we had via Facebook or telephone.
No, he did not know me
So no.
prior to the
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. She booked your services.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were your services for the night?
My DJing services were $500.
Were you paid?
No, ma'am.
What happened when the police arrived?
The police came, asked everyone to leave.
Do you know anything about this venue space where the wedding took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
It's a storefront.
So are a lot of venues in Las Vegas.
Your case is dismissed. Do you understand? This is not a free-for-all. As far as I'm concerned, you got almost exactly what her budget called for. And I have one vendor that wasn't paid.
Because she didn't pay. It's clear.
Well, how do I know that you paid the other vendors? At least I know one vendor that you didn't pay. And she paid almost $20,000.
They got paid because, okay.
I have two things. I have one vendor that's here that wasn't paid. You were paid almost $20,000. The balance, part of it, is for your fee. Part of it is
my
for...
fee was not...
Are you saying that part of this money that you're suing for, this $4,000, was not part of your fee?
The $4,000 that I'm suing for is part of my fee.
Of course, that's what I said. So part of that money was for your fee, and part of it was for vendors. I have one vendor here who says he wasn't paid.
Well, I have receipts from other vendors if you like to see.
No, I know you had a lot of vendors, but you didn't pay him. He's the only
I didn't pay him
body.
because she didn't pay me. It's clear. She didn't pay me enough money to pay her venue. I have here proof of how much every item in her wedding cost, which exceeded the $19,000 that she paid. Clearly, she owes more money. That's the facts of the matter. She owes more money to
She's
what her wedding
countersuing you for ruining her wedding because you booked it at a venue that wasn't allowed to have a wedding. She's got a counterclaim for far more than your claim. Bottom line is, she picked a wedding planner, she picked a venue, she tacitly approved this change of venue. Both of you had to at the last minute, but you did that relying on the wedding planner to find a venue that was capable to hold the event. And it wasn't. It wasn't. That's your job. Your job is to find an appropriate place so that the police don't raid a wedding a half hour before it's over. That's not the way a wedding is supposed to end. So what I want you to tell me is you're suing her for $4,300. How much of that $4,300 is your fee?
$2,000.
And you didn't pay him?
No.
So that's 24 minus $500. You didn't pay him because you have to pay him.
I pay him.
Part
Well,
of
he's
it
already
was to
paid.
pay him.
I'm deducting it.
Okay.
I'm not paying you for your fee.
Okay.
You booked the wrong space for your fee. So far, I have $18.25. Other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? I'm very clear.
Can I?
Other than the DJ, he's going to tell me, the DJ is going to tell me, other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? Mr. Cox, could you stand up, please? You seem to want to tell me something, and since you didn't know either one of these parties, I'm going to let you tell me. Do you know any other vendor other than you who wasn't paid?
The bartender also was not paid.
Bartender.
That's correct.
Which is his wife.
That's correct.
I don't care whether it was his wife or not, it was the bartender.
Right, but what I'm saying was the bar was included.
How much were you supposed to pay the bartender?
The bar and the bartender came with him. He offered to do the bar and to DJ because his pipe busted. So what I'm saying is, he said, I'll bring my bar and I'll do a cash bar, meaning
That's because a bar you can't have for $500. So
Right,
we'll
but
do
he
a
was
cash
doing a
bar.
cash- correct.
Did you do a cash bar?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. So you made some money off the cash bar?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course. Got it. Now you can sit. So what you paid him was $500 for both.
And $150 for the bar.
$650 total.
That's what he charged them outside of the wedding.
This is a very easy case for me. You were paid almost $20,000.
I wasn't paid anything. I was
Yes.
paid $2,000.
And I would feel doubly furious if on the day of my wedding, as a new bride of an hour, the event planner said to me, you can't go in unless you sign this contract, modifying our first contract.
The contract was not to modify.
Your case is
the
dismissed.
contract.
We're done.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
So your counterclaim.
There are some things that I realized that, I could have done better.
Basically, 10 days before the wedding, add additional $4,000 on top of $20,000.
That never happened.
It was just her way of just trying to come up on more money, in my opinion.
At the end of the day, she had got her wedding.
I'm actually sometimes surprised at professionals like this woman, who is an event planner, has a reputation. She was almost fully compensated for this event. And the wedding was, if it were my wedding, I would say, it's ruined by having a police shut it down. We had a wedding a month ago. What would you think if the police showed?
You would not be happy if you paid any amount of money to a professional and had that happen. I really thought it was outrageous.
The whole thing was just tacky, waiting outside the venue, and she got there from the ceremony, and before she could go in, she had to sign the contract. That's really not what you do as a professional.
Bad business.
Bad business.
Want justice?
ওটা ভরে দিও বডি কি ইস্পাত দিবেন ইস্পাত করা কাটবো না কাকা এই যে 2 মিনিটের মধ্যে শেষ করে নিলে নর্মাল বডিতে কাম করুন যাবো 2 মিনিট লাগাও নাই এক বুঝলে ওই জোড়ে আমার বলি আমাদের মাছ বাজারের নর্মাল বডিতে হবে না বাবা বডি ভেঙে দেবো গা বইটা দেবো গা কাটলা 2 মিনিট লাগলো না ওটা মাছ